How could he not be satisfied? Most importantly, he was able to harvest experience points from 2 intermediate heavenly gods, which made him even more satisfied. All of the intermediate heavenly gods had been killed, but who would have thought that there would be reinforcements? This was out of his expectations. It seemed like they were reinforcements from behind, hiding in the surroundings to keep an eye on this side. The upper heavenly gods still had things to do, so it was enough to leave these things to some middle heavenly gods. You damned human, you don't keep your word. The evil emperor roared from outside the barrier, and even extended his hand to punch the barrier, causing a dong-dong sound to ring out. However, the barrier could not be broken, so he could only roar from outside. He never thought that Tianyun would have such terrifying strength. Even 2 great heavenly gods were killed in an instant. No wonder a god was allowed to enter. If it was an upper heavenly god, it would be more difficult to deal with him. It would be easier to deal with a middle heavenly god. Facing an upper heavenly god, Tianyun would indeed find it difficult to deal with him. The difference between an upper heavenly god and a middle heavenly god was too great. Even if he erupted with the power of faith, it would still be extremely difficult to deal with them. In order to be on the safe side, it was naturally fine to let a middle heavenly god in. Trustworthy? I wonder who was the one who wanted to rush in and talk to me about trustworthiness? Tianyun laughed coldly. If I had really let you rush in, I reckon that I would have died miserably in your hands long ago, and my power would have been completely flattened by you. It's not your turn to say that I'm not trustworthy. Tianyun's retort made the evil emperor unable to refute him. Of course, even if the evil emperor didn't do this, he would have killed the 2 heavenly gods. This was the plan from the very beginning. To deal with the evil spirit race, you still need to keep your word? Whoever kept their word would be an idiot. The evil spirit race was the race that didn't keep their word the most. If they still talked about trustworthiness with them, then they would truly be an idiot. You humans are not only greedy, but also untrustworthy. The evil emperor spat out angrily, don't even think about coming out in this lifetime. As long as you or your subordinates come out, kill them all and leave none alive. Greed? That's also because I'm greedy, idiot. Tianyun mocked. Towards you, the main culprits of the divine emperor, why should I be polite? It's even more idiotic for me to keep my promise to you. What happened to those who joined your forces back then? You must have made a lot of promises back then, right? In the end, it was all for naught. You even lost your entire force and became cannon fodder. Survival of the fittest. They did things for this emperor, but if they didn't do a good job, this would be their fate. This emperor did not recruit them to raise trash. The evil emperor coldly retorted. Alright, I can't be bothered to talk too much with you. Your mouth is too smelly. Didn't your mother tell you before? Tianyun pinched his nose and waved his hand with a look of disdain. Seeing this, the evil emperor was about to explode from anger. He stared at him with eyes filled with killing intent and said, "What a glib tongue, but it's meaningless. From today onwards, your forces will definitely be listed as one of the forces that I will trample. From today onwards, don't even think about coming out." Didn't I come out now? Tianyun stepped out of the barrier, then retracted his foot and looked at him with a mocking expression. The evil emperor's face was ashen. He had never been played like this before. After so many years, who didn't treat him with respect? Now, they were playing with him in all sorts of ways, making him so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Good. I'll let you be arrogant. Let's see how long you can be arrogant for. The evil emperor gritted his teeth and couldn't be bothered to look at Tianyun anymore. He quickly flew towards the other areas. He wanted to circle around this place and see if there were any flaws so that he could break in. Seeing the evil emperor's departing figure, Tianyun's eyes flashed, but the corners of his mouth hooked up into a cold smile. What a joke. I can't wait for more people to be by my side. Unless they are all upper heavenly gods, they are all here to give away experience. Even if they are upper heavenly gods, ordinary upper heavenly gods are probably not enough to fill my teeth. Tianyun was not afraid of the evil emperor's threat at all. It was not easy for others to go out, but he could move as he pleased. Especially when he had joined forces with the Fekta divine realm. When the time came, he would ruthlessly harvest the evil spirit race's vitality. Chapter 1667. Lee Tianyun couldn't be bothered to pay attention to what the evil emperor was doing. He flew back and began to sort through his spoils of war. "These are all my spoils of war. I got them from evil emperor," evil emperor said. Lee Tianyun brought out a pile of storage rings, within which were all types of heavenly god spirit treasures, as well as all types of cores. The heavenly god Luck and the others were all speechless at his extravagance. This was definitely the first time they had seen someone plunder the evil emperor, and not only had the evil emperor lost many powerful beings, but he had also lost many treasures. "You're way too powerful. Are you really an intermediate heavenly venerate?" The heavenly doom god had never seen Lee Tianyun's power before, nor had the heavenly luck god. Both of them were completely dumbstruck when they saw it for themselves. Even they would be unable to withstand such a terrifying power. As such, when Lee Tianyun had first returned, they had all stared at Lee Tianyun repeatedly, trying to glean something from him. However, they were unable to glean anything. He was still an intermediate heavenly venerate without any changes. He didn't have a heavenly god's aura, nor did he have a heavenly god cultivation base, but he was able to kill an intermediate heavenly god. This was truly incredible. None of them had seen Lee Tianyun's power before, and only after witnessing it did they realize that Lee Tianyun wasn't bluffing. They could just leave this force to him to protect. "I really am an intermediate heavenly venerate. Can any of you sense it?" Lee Tianyun splayed his hands open with a smile. "I can sense it, but I really don't believe it. I'm even wondering if you're hiding your cultivation base." The heavenly luck god looked at him from head to toe, and she wanted nothing more than to grab him and inspect his cultivation base. "I really haven't. This is just my cultivation base." Lee Tianyun shrugged in a resigned manner before a smile appeared on his face. "I have so many resources here. Do you have any good ideas for me to expand my force?" He definitely wasn't going to let the entire 3 realms absorb so many 7th grade cores. That would be far too wasteful. If he wanted to strengthen his own forces, he would definitely have to place them in the various planets. That way, he would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. "We're very good at this, so let us help you." Heavenly God Doom and the others' eyes lit up. They finally had something to do. So many rank 7th grade cores. What a huge investment. After they were built, the God realm of the 3 realms would definitely improve by a large margin. Aside from this core, there were also a bunch of heavenly god spirit treasures, which Lee Tianyun generously took out for heavenly god Luck to pick from. Since they were here to help him, he would definitely not treat them badly. However, none of them wanted it. Although these heavenly god spirit treasures were not bad, they did not need them. They all had their own heavenly god spirit treasures, so they did not need other heavenly god spirit treasures. Moreover, the heavenly god spiritual treasures that the heretical emperor had given him were relatively ordinary. How could he possibly give him something good? Even the rank 7 core was given to a smaller one. It could be said that he was extremely stingy. It would be impossible for the heretical emperor to not have any treasures on him. Who knew how many grade 7 cores he had? In fact, he might even have grade 8 cores. As for the grade 9 cores, that was hard to say. Of course, no matter how small they were still grade 7 cores. Their overall level was not low. Since none of you want them, I'll save them for fusing with my own treasures in the future. Lee Tianyun's gaze turned to the Fecta Divine Fan. If he smashed these heavenly god spirit treasures, it would recover quite a bit of its power. Following that, he did not hesitate and smashed the Fecta Divine Fan ferociously, throwing a lot of materials at it. This thing was quite good, so it was worth smashing it. After smashing several heavenly god spirit treasures, the Fecta Divine Fan quickly recovered. The frame on the surface and the surface of the fan were quickly restored. In the blink of an eye, most of it was restored. These were all heavenly god spirit treasures, and they were of such high grade. No matter how weak they were still heavenly god spirit treasures. After a round of smashing, it could still recover 50% of its power. Soon, it rushed to the limit of a lower heavenly god spirit treasure. If he continued smashing it, it would recover most of its power. It could even recover to its peak upper heavenly god spirit treasure. It was just that the price to pay was extremely high. It would require many middle heavenly god spirit treasures or upper heavenly god spirit treasures to repair it. Just by relying on lower heavenly god spirit treasures, it would be very difficult to restore it to its original state. It has become a lower heavenly god spirit treasure. Tianyun looked at the Fecta divine fan. Its power had greatly increased, but the problem was that he could not really use it. If he wanted to unleash the strongest effect, he naturally needed heavenly god energy. Right now, he was still a heavenly venerate energy, so he could only use half of it. Looks like it's about time. It's time to improve myself. Tianyun thought for a moment. It was better for him to break through to upper heavenly venerate. Otherwise, he would not be able to refine upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures. Only with 3 heavenly venerate spirit treasures of his own would he be able to unleash greater power. He could not stay here forever. If he stayed outside, he would not be able to use the power of faith. Hence, he needed to improve himself. While he still had time, he needed to improve himself and refine upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures at the same time. After the heretical emperor left, it would be time for him to start a massacre. Level up. Ding. Congratulations to player Tianyun for successfully breaking through to upper heavenly venerate early stage. After deducting a large chunk of experience, Tianyun broke through to upper heavenly venerate cultivation. Actually, he could still continue breaking through, but he did not do so. Suppressing his cultivation was always a good thing. I've finally broken through to upper heavenly venerate. Then, let's start refining upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures. Tianyun immediately started throwing in piles of materials and began to nurture upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures. It was not just materials. He even threw in some heavenly venerate spirit treasures. They could also be used as refining materials. In any case, if he threw them in, they could slowly dissolve and then become a part of the materials. It was just that this would be very wasteful. Some things could not be put to good use. But Tianyun was just that rich and overbearing. He casually threw most of the treasures. As long as he could improve, he would not be stingy at all. After a round of smashing, Tianyun sat down on the spot and began to cultivate. The heretical emperor was still circling around outside. After circling around several times, he found that there were no flaws at all. Forget looking for flaws, there was not even a core of the array. Is this the blessing of the heavens? Just how did they get it? The heretical emperor's face twitched. Looks like I can only slow down the plan. Damn it, why did such a problem appear at this critical juncture? The heretical emperor angrily punched the barrier, but it bounced back and hit him. Soon after, he quickly came to the side of the shield and used his spiritual sense to explore the situation outside. It was difficult for others to probe in, but he could easily probe the situation outside. Under his incomparably valiant spiritual sense, there was no place to hide from his surroundings. This was especially so when he activated the appraisal eye, which allowed him to see even more clearly. He could clearly see who was hiding at the side. As expected, they sent quite a few heavenly gods to hide at the side. Their concealment skills are quite impressive. Tianyun moved to another area and scouted out to roughly determine their location. Soon, he found all of the heavenly gods who were hiding in the vicinity. Overall, there were a total of 8 heavenly gods, 2 of which were higher heavenly gods. This was quite a large number. Originally, they didn't plan to send higher heavenly gods, but after seeing how easily Tianyun killed intermediate heavenly gods, they could only send 2 higher heavenly gods. The rest of the intermediate heavenly gods were just there for scouting purposes and to intercept some reinforcements. They knew that the 3 realms divine realm had reinforcements from other forces. Although they wouldn't attack, they would definitely retaliate if reinforcements came. As for reinforcements, when he came out of seclusion, Heavenly Goddess Luck came over to ask if he needed help from the Fecta divine realm. Tianyun turned her down and said that he would take care of this himself. If there were any difficulties, he would ask for their help. Since Tianyun had already decided, they could only listen to Tianyun. Then let's start with the weakest. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold, and he quickly disappeared on the spot. Outside, Heavenly God Evil Spirit had been cultivating while paying attention to what was happening. Apart from that, they couldn't move at will, so they could only stay here obediently. It was extremely boring. I really don't know when this barrier will disappear. Cultivators inside, hurry up and come out for a stroll. It's so boring. This intermediate heavenly god was extremely bored. He had stayed here for so long, but not even a fly had flown out. It was extremely boring. At this moment, a shadow flashed behind him, but he was completely unaware. Splat! The 5-dragon divine spear pierced through his head, and heavenly god Evil Spirit's body stiffened. By the time he came to his senses, it was already too late. Bam! Heavenly god Evil Spirit's head exploded into a cloud of blood mist just like that. The first one. The person who had appeared behind Heavenly God Evil Spirit was naturally Yi Tianyun. The 5-dragon divine movement boots on his feet shimmered with a faint golden light, completely concealing him within space. Combined with his spatial bloodline, it was like a divine weapon for sneak attacks. He didn't need to face them head-on. All he needed to do was launch sneak attacks to easily take care of them. He then stepped forward, and a faint golden light flashed as he disappeared into space again, completely disappearing without a trace. He truly came and went without a trace. In the next instant, Yi Tianyun appeared behind another heavenly god Evil Spirit and launched another sneak attack. All of the heavenly gods seemed to have been possessed, and they didn't even have a chance to react before their heads were pierced through and they were instantly killed. When he killed the 4th heavenly god Evil Spirit, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine, and he immediately turned around to discover that there was no one there. That's strange. Why do I feel like there's something behind me? Heavenly God Evil Spirit scratched his head as he quickly used his spirit sense to investigate, but he was unable to find anything. What are you looking at? A ghostly voice sounded from behind him. Heavenly God Evil Spirit immediately turned around, only to be greeted by a divine spear that pierced through his head. 5th one die. Yi Tianyun put away the divine spear as his eyes shimmered. He didn't think that the 5-dragon divine movement boots would be so effective. Combined with the power of the void, it was very difficult for them to detect him. Heavenly God Evil Spirit was able to detect him, but only a tiny bit. Most of them were still unable to detect him, and Yi Tianyun's sneak attack was easily successful. Even he was astonished by the power of such a terrifying sneak attack. However, this was a perfect sneak attack that could only be unleashed with all of his equipment and abilities. It wasn't something that could be brought about by a single pair of shoes. Just a pair of shoes was able to combine all of his abilities and completely amplify them. This was the Fleetfoot step. Chapter 1669. After killing 5 heavenly gods in a row, there were only 3 heavenly gods left. However, 2 of them were upper heavenly gods, and it would undoubtedly be very difficult to deal with them. But before that, Yi Tianyun first finished off the last intermediate heavenly god, and the 2 upper heavenly gods were left. These 2 upper heavenly gods had no idea that their subordinates had already been completely wiped out, and not a single one was left. If I don't destroy this organization, I won't be able to take this lying down, but when will this barrier disappear? Duan Rui shook his head. After staying here for a period of time, he began to feel bored. He had never done this kind of thing before. He would just rush over and devour them, instead of squatting here and watching obediently. Not only was this boring, but it was also not his usual style. He had always been straightforward and never hid to watch. He felt a little aggrieved. But this was not only an order from the evil emperor, but also their own thoughts. After all, Yi Tianyun had killed so many of their companions and humiliated them so much. They were really unwilling to leave just like that. Previously, when they were beaten into such a sorry state, they had already sworn to destroy the god realm of the 3 realms. Thus, they could only fulfill their promise obediently. Duan Rui shook his head and continued to watch from the side. His powerful spiritual awareness covered the entire area, and even a fly could not escape his perception. As he continued to watch the situation, a murderous intent came from behind his head. A strong sense of danger made him quickly turn around and reach out to block it. The incomparably sharp spear light directly pierced through his palm, but this bought him a lot of time to dodge. At the same time, the spear light slowed down by a beat, allowing him to quickly retreat and avoid this fatal blow. "It's you!" After retreating quickly, Duan Rui immediately saw who the sneak attack was. Previously, the evil emperor had allowed him to enter the god realm of the three realms, but Yi Tianyun said that people with such high cultivation were not allowed to enter, so he could only replace him with other members of the evil spirit tribe. Thus, they had all seen Yi Tianyun and had a very deep impression of him. However, after further investigation, he realized that Yi Tianyun was on the blacklist. He immediately felt that his actions were stupid. They did not expect Yi Tianyun to be on the blacklist. What they usually did not bother to ask had led to a huge mistake. If they had known about it earlier, the significance would have been different. They would have definitely paid more attention to it. Now that he knew, it was useless. "That's right, it's me." As expected of an upper heavenly god, his perception is much stronger than that of a middle heavenly god. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. This was not out of his expectations. If upper heavenly gods could be dealt with so easily, they wouldn't be upper heavenly gods. Regardless of whether it was his perception or strength, they were both much stronger than before. "Brat, what else can you do besides sneak attacks?" When God Duan Rui was talking to Yi Tianyun, he also contacted another companion. Since Yi Tianyun had come out, he definitely couldn't let him go. "Idiots, what else do you have other than a high cultivation base?" Yi Tianyun retorted with a smile. "You're courting death." God Duan Rui was furious and immediately attacked Yi Tianyun. The power of an upper heavenly god burst out. He had seen Yi Tianyun's power. Although it was not very heaven-defying, it was definitely not weak. Therefore, he attacked with 70 to 80% of his strength, wanting to kill Yi Tianyun in one fell swoop. In the face of God Duan Rui's attack, Yi Tianyun did not hesitate to meet it. After a fierce battle, he was sent flying and slightly injured. Even though his cultivation base had broken through, coupled with his crazy damage mode, he still could not kill an upper heavenly god head-on. The gap was still very huge and he had jumped more than one realm. As expected of an upper heavenly god. "Let's go!" The 5 dragon godly travel boots under Yi Tianyun's feet swept up a burst of golden light, causing his speed to increase, and he quickly fled to the 3 realms. "You still want to leave?" God Duan Rui quickly caught up, closing the distance between him and Yi Tianyun bit by bit. Staring at Yi Tianyun's back, his eyes were bloodshot. As long as he killed Yi Tianyun, then the 3 realms god realm would completely collapse. At the same time, he could also make a great contribution and be rewarded by the evil emperor. It would undoubtedly be better if he could capture him alive. Yi Tianyun turned his head to look behind him, his eyes flashing with fear, which made God Duan Rui feel carefree. "Where's that arrogant energy from before? You were still suppressed by me." God Duan Rui's speed increased rapidly, and it suddenly increased to the limit. Compared to Yi Tianyun's speed, he was much faster. Soon, he was closing in on Yi Tianyun, and there was only a short distance left before he completely caught up. Yi Tianyun was still a short distance away from the 3 realms shield. As long as he could escape inside, everything would be fine. Yi Tianyun was anxious, and so was God Duan Rui. If Yi Tianyun escaped back, then he would have no chance at all. "Beast, don't even think of escaping." God Duan Rui stuffed the awakening crystal into his hand and unleashed all his power, causing his speed to increase sharply again. This caused the distance between them to shorten again. Soon, he was behind Yi Tianyun, and he reached out to grab his shoulder. This time, he planned to capture him alive, not dead. The moment he was about to touch him, Yi Tianyun's speed suddenly increased greatly, and he pulled away a short distance before completely entering the shield. God Duan Rui was infuriated when he saw this, but he did not stop. Instead, he rushed forward angrily. After he rushed over, he did not crash into the shield as he had imagined. Instead, he directly passed through the shield. "I'm in?" God Duan Rui was overjoyed. He did not expect to be able to enter. Will there be a small loophole when he passes through the shield? Before he could react, Yi Tianyun, who was escaping in front, quickly turned back and stabbed him with the 5-dragon divine spear. At this moment, Yi Tianyun seemed to have changed into a different person. His aura increased explosively, and the terrifying power made God Duanrue's heart tremble. Power of Faith activate. Activate 100 times damage stacking. When the power of faith was fully activated, it stacked another 100 times damage. Coupled with the crazy damage mode, it was already 228 times the damage, and this was without any additional damage. In an instant, Yi Tianyun's combat power was directly above God Duanrue's. He was not afraid of God Duanrue, but he deliberately attracted God Duanrue here, and then used the power of faith to deal with God Duanrue. Since he could not deal with him outside, why not drag him back to the 3 realms God realm? This was his God realm, his world. Chapter 1670. After the outburst, Yi Tianyun did not waste any time. Without hesitation, he swung his spear and attacked fiercely. With more than 200 times his combat power was extremely terrifying. The 5-dragon godly boots on his feet also erupted with full power. The 3 celestial venerable spiritual treasures connected together, and it was as if he had transformed into a giant dragon. The 5-dragon divine spear was the dragon's head, the gauntlet was the dragon's body, and the boots were the dragon's tail. After they were connected, the speed of his sprint increased dramatically, and he charged toward heaven God Duanrue in one breath. 5-dragon roar. Yi Tianyun immediately used his most powerful technique. 5 giant dragons whizzed over and surrounded heaven God Duanrue. This aura, what's going on? Heaven God Duanrue felt a chill in his heart. He had seen the scene of Yi Tianyun killing his companions before, but his aura was definitely not this strong. Therefore, he felt that even if he faced Yi Tianyun with full power, he was confident that he could take him down. Who knew that Yi Tianyun's strength could be even stronger? The unparalleled aura made him feel more pressure. Damn it! Could it be that I've finally revealed my true strength? Heaven God Duanrue finally realized that he had really been fooled, and completely fooled. He had thought that Yi Tianyun was afraid that he would run back, but it turned out that he had deliberately lured him in and chosen to kill him. This way, his companions would not be able to support him. Heaven God Duanrue thought too much. The real situation was that Yi Tianyun could only use the power of faith after coming in. Outside, there was no way to use the power of faith. If he could use the power of faith outside, he would really be able to kill Heaven God Duanrue without having to run back to attack. After all, with this power, the first sneak attack could already kill Heaven God Duanrue. Why would he need to lure him back? Now that things had come to this, Heaven God Duanrue knew that he had no choice but to summon the Heavenly God's spiritual treasure and prepare to fight. Yi Tianyun also used his strongest power to fight Heaven God Duanrue. Even with the power of faith, it was still not easy to fight. The terrifying explosion spread out in the God realm of the 3 realms. The violent shockwaves immediately spread out, and many cultivators sensed it. However, before the battle, Yi Tianyun had already warned them to stay away from the battle. After the explosion, Duanrue dodged to the side, his heart incomparably shocked. His strength is really much stronger than before, it's not even on the same level. This is equivalent to the upper heavenly god level. He swept a cold glance at Yi Tianyun. Just as he was about to continue his battle with Yi Tianyun, a cold light flashed behind him. He had just dodged to the side, and because of the explosion, he could not see clearly in front of him. He believed that Yi Tianyun did not know where he was either, but when he felt a sense of danger, he knew that his location had been discovered. Poochie! Everything happened so quickly that even if he sensed the danger, it was already too late. With astonishing speed, it easily pierced through his head and nailed him to the void. Why your strength? How did it become so strong? Duanrue's head had already been pierced through, but he still retained a little bit of consciousness. There's no need for you to know. Yi Tianyun did not waste time with him. He twisted the 5-dragon divine spear in his hand and instantly exploded Duanrue's head. A heavenly god died just like that. He knew in advance where Duanrue was hiding. Naturally, it was the Fecta divine fan. Before the attack, He used the Fekta divine fan to divine the situation of Duan Rue's battle. Although he could not divine everything, there was no problem with the first few steps. After the divination, everything was much easier. Using his advantage here, he could instantly move to Duan Rue's location and carry out the strongest sneak attack. After all, he could go anywhere in the god realm of the three realms with just a thought. Wouldn't he be a fool if he did not use such an advantage? Therefore, in the god realm of the three realms, no one could compete with him in terms of speed. He could escape with one teleport or appear behind or in front of them with one familiar move. Even the evil emperor would find this terrifying power very troublesome to deal with. However, it was only troublesome. If the heretical emperor vented his anger on his subjects, it would not be a good thing. Therefore, Qian Yun still had to be careful. If there were no subjects here, he would really want to let them all in and exhaust them to death. I can finally kill a higher heavenly god. If I wasn't here, it would be very difficult to kill him. Qian Yun shook his head. If they were outside, he would have no choice but to turn and run. His current strength was still far too weak. After he killed God Duanru, he felt a gaze filled with murderous intent staring at him. He turned his head and saw a familiar figure appear in front of him. This person was none other than an old acquaintance, Heavenly God Sky Cloud. Tian Yun remembered that Heavenly God Torrential Cloud didn't come to fight with him before, so he didn't expect him to appear in front of him now. Tian Yun was a little surprised, but it was reasonable. He guessed that Heavenly God Sky Cloud had volunteered to come here after learning that he had appeared in the god realm of the three realms. That was indeed the case. After learning that Tian Yun was here, Heavenly God Sky Cloud had volunteered to keep an eye on him. Tian Yun had humiliated him so much and humiliated him within the evil spirit race. How could he tolerate this? As such, he immediately requested to come and kill Tian Yun in order to wash away his shame. However, by the time he arrived, it was already too late. His companion had died at the hands of Tian Yun. This made his heart tremble. One had to realize that Tian Yun had been beaten to a pulp by him. If it weren't for Patriarch Heaven cultivation, he really would have crushed Tian Yun to death. Now, his understanding of Tian Yun had been completely upended. How had he become so powerful? Although Heavenly God Duan Rui was not as powerful as him, he was still a higher heavenly god, yet he had been killed by Tian Yun. He had seen everything that had happened just now. After all, he was unable to use his spiritual sense to scan the area clearly. However, he knew that it was Tian Yun who had killed his companion, and that was enough for him. And Lin was able to kill his companion without any help. This was far beyond his expectations. "Oh, Heavenly God Sky Cloud, we meet again," Tian Yun said with a smile as he flew over to the barrier. Heavenly God Sky Cloud looked at him with a dark expression. It was not going to be easy to kill Tian Yun now. In particular, whether or not Tian Yun would let him in was another matter. Chapter 1671. Even though Tian Yun had become much more powerful, Empyrean God Torrential Cloud was confident that he could still deal with him. Besides, if he didn't go in, he wouldn't have a chance to kill Tian Yun. He would have no choice but to watch from the outside. His original plan was to wait for Tian Yun to come out. If Tian Yun didn't come out, then he would kill his subordinates and force Tian Yun to come out. Tian Yun looked at Empyrean God Torrential Cloud. It had to be said that Empyrean God Torrential Cloud lived up to his reputation as a patriarch. His overall combat prowess was far superior to that of Empyrean God Duanru. They were both early-stage Empyrean gods, but Empyrean God Torrential Cloud was much more powerful. Only by comparing them could one tell where the disparity lay. That's not a problem. Tian Yun looked at Empyrean God Torrential Cloud as he calculated his chances of defeating him. After all, when Empyrean God Torrential Cloud unleashed his full power, he would undoubtedly be even more monstrous. As such, he had to think carefully before letting him in. He didn't care if he was injured, but if Empyrean God Torrential Cloud went berserk, he wouldn't be able to stop him. If that happened, the Three Realms God Realm would probably be affected. That wouldn't be a good thing. "Then why don't you let me in?" Empyrean god Torrential Cloud pressed himself against the barrier and motioned for Lee Tunyun to let him in. Can't we talk about the past here? If you want to say something, you can say it now. Lee Tunyun had no choice but to let Empyrean god Torrential Cloud in. Who knew if Empyrean god Torrential Cloud would go berserk and attack his subjects first instead of him? Looks like you're scared. Where's your courage? You were able to kill even Empyrean god Duanru. Are you scared of me? Empyrean god Torrential Cloud looked at Lee Tunyun with a disdainful and provocative expression. Either come out or let me in. The choice is yours. Didn't we agree to talk about the past? Fighting and killing is not my style. Lee Tunyun waved his hand, and a wine table appeared next to him, and he started to drink slowly. Bullshit. Don't talk so much, just tell me, do you have the guts to come out and fight with me? Either you let me in and fight, it's your choice. Heavenly God Sky Cloud couldn't even be bothered to bicker with Lee Tunyun. He wanted nothing more than to tear Lee Tunyun's face to shreds. I choose to sit here and watch you jump around like a monkey. Lee Tunyun smiled and took a sip of wine. He looked at him as if he was looking at a monkey. Coward. Weaklings, lowly humans. Come out and fight me if you have the guts. Don't hide in there. Heavenly God Skywave roared with rage. If you have what it takes, then break the shield and enter. That way I will fight you, Lee Tunyun said with a smile. Aren't you just spouting nonsense? If I could break through the barrier, I would have gone in long ago. Empyrean God Tower Cloud said angrily. If I can't break it, then there's nothing I can do. If you can't even break through a barrier, what right do you have to fight me? Lee Tunyun chuckled. Bullshit. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was about to explode with rage. This is a barrier given to you by the heavens. I don't know how lucky you are to have something like this. How am I supposed to break it? If you know what you're saying, then why should I go out and fight you? I have this thing to protect me, so why should I give it up? Lee Tunyun looked at him with a disdainful expression. If you have what it takes, why don't you cut off half of your cultivation base and fight me again? Your cultivation base is so much higher than mine, and you still want to fight me? How shameless! Empyrean God Sky Cloud was about to throw up blood from rage. I'm on the same level as Empyrean God Duanru. If he can do it, then I can't. It's not that you can't. Walk around the outside and bark like a dog, and I'll let you in. Lee Tunyun waved his wine glass, indicating for him to bark like a dog. You're the one who's going to bark like a dog, you lowly human. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was naturally aware of what a dog was. It was an even lower level pet, so barking like a dog was tantamount to barking like a dog. Well, you can have fun outside. Lee Tunyun didn't bother to pay attention to him and continued to drink the wine. Alright, don't come out for the rest of your life if you dare. I'll stand guard outside for the rest of my life. I refuse to believe that you won't come out. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was about to explode from rage, and he had no choice but to threaten him. Got it, little dog. Lee Tunyun raised his glass and smiled at him. After all, only a dog will stay at the door of my house and help me guard the door. Thank you very much. As a token of my appreciation, I'll treat you to a drink. He tossed the wine glass in his hand through the barrier as he spoke, which flew toward Empyrean God Sky Cloud. However, it was crushed viciously as soon as it reached Empyrean God Sky Cloud. How dare you insult me over and over again? I hope you don't fall into my hands for the rest of your life. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was very enraged, but he had no other choice. The barrier couldn't be broken, so what could he do? He was starting to regret coming here. He was about to explode from rage at the hands of Lee Tunyun, but he still couldn't charge in. Wait, I'm willing to let you in, Lee Tunyun said. Really? Empyrean God Sky Cloud's eyes lit up. Of course, but I'll only let you in with your head. You'll have to sever the rest of your body, Lee Tunyun said with a smile. In that case, I'll let you in. You're messing with me. Empyrean God Sky Cloud gritted his teeth. If he went in with only his head, he would die. Chapter 1672. Heavenly God Sky Cloud's expression instantly shifted upon seeing the powerful beings surrounding him. He couldn't sense any energy fluctuations around him. It should be said that his attention is attracted by Yi Tianyun. From the beginning to the end, Yi Tianyun attracted his attention. In particular, he was constantly trying to infuriate him, so much so that he didn't even notice his surroundings. By the time he noticed it, it was already too late. There were so many powerful beings surrounding him, creating a massive ceiling formation. This time, he wouldn't be able to escape as easily as last time. In other words, there was no way he could escape at all, not even if he used his escape treasure. The space around him had already been sealed, and unless the mighty figure who saved him was a bit more powerful, it would be very difficult for them to pass through space and save him. So you've been stalling for time this entire time. How despicable! Heavenly God Sky Cloud glared at him with an extremely cold, killing intent in his eyes. The power within his body was quickly activated to the maximum, and he was ready to unleash his full power at a moment's notice. Despicable? How can I be despicable when dealing with you evil spirit tribe beings? Compared to your despicable acts, our despicable acts are nothing. A faint smile appeared on Yi Tianyun's face. He felt like this heavenly God Sky Cloud was a complete joke. He definitely wasn't going to talk to the evil spirit tribe beings about honesty or fairness. All of that was bullshit. He had to be more vicious and devious when dealing with them. If he showed even the slightest bit of mercy, he would definitely be the one to die. His enemies weren't going to give up on killing them just because they begged for mercy. They would still kill those who had to be killed, and they would still devour those who had to be devoured. Softening their hearts was like turning a rock into tofu. In the next instant, Heavenly God Sky Cloud charged toward Yi Tianyun without uttering a single word. During their conversation, he had already activated his power to the maximum, and he immediately unleashed it. At the same time, he stuffed an awakening crystal into his mouth to awaken his own power. He had already awakened his power once before, but he had paid a very heavy price to recover it, so the power of his power hadn't diminished in the slightest. Even if I die, I'm going to make you die with me. Heavenly God Sky Cloud wanted to drag someone down with him. No matter what, he had to kill Yi Tianyun first. In the blink of an eye, Heavenly God Torrential Cloud had already reached Yi Tianyun. He swung a palm down with devastating force, and an inky black energy engulfed everything. Yi Tianyun had a smile on his face, as if everything was within his expectations. However, he did not move. He still stood where he was, as if he had been scared silly. The next moment, it proved that he was not scared silly. A barrier of light suddenly appeared in front of Yi Tianyun, keeping Heavenly God Torrential Cloud's attack at bay. At the same time, the barrier of light continued to envelop Heavenly God Torrential Cloud. Even Empyrean God Tower Cloud had been enveloped by this ring of light, and it was gradually shrinking. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that these were all realm lords or patriarch-level beings who had joined forces to set up this grand formation that had trapped Heavenly God Surging Clouds within. How could Empyrean God Tower Cloud possibly injure Yi Tianyun when so many powerful Empyrean gods had set up a formation to trap him? Let's see how you're going to escape this time, Empyrean God Tower Cloud. One of the Heaven Cultivation God Realm Patriarchs harumphed coldly. Empyrean God Tower Cloud had snuck into the three realms for so long, but they were completely unaware of this. This made them extremely angry. As soon as they learned of what was happening, they immediately rushed over to provide reinforcements. Even if they had nothing to do with the three realms God Realm, they would still rush over to provide reinforcements. Empyrean God Tower Cloud had been blacklisted by the Heaven Cultivation God Realm long ago. They had to capture him or kill him no matter what. Thus, their army had set out to completely seal off this place, trapping Empyrean God Tower Cloud in his carelessness. You want to capture me? It won't be that easy. Empyrean God Tower Cloud let out an enraged roar as he unleashed all of his Empyrean God Spirit treasures. He was willing to pay any price to unleash their most powerful attacks against the barrier. Following a series of ferocious attacks, the barrier began to loosen slightly. He had unleashed all of his power, and he was even willing to damage his Empyrean God Spirit treasures in order to unleash this power, so it naturally wouldn't be weak. Boom boom boom. The barrage of attacks did indeed cause the barrier to crack a little, but with the support of so many Empyrean gods, it was able to remain intact. Empyrean god Tower Cloud was only putting up a desperate fight. As long as he continued to suppress the barrier, Empyrean god Tower Cloud would definitely be trapped to death. As time passed, Empyrean god Tower Cloud's struggles became completely futile. In the end, Empyrean god Torrential Cloud was completely sealed off. His body was surrounded by multiple rings, completely locking him in place, as well as the power within his body. He was no different from a piece of trash now. He couldn't even move, let alone fight back. At most, he would only be able to say a few words. Got him. They were ecstatic. They had finally captured Empyrean god Tower Cloud. Now, they would be able to give the Heaven Cultivation God realm an explanation. Arf! You pieces of trash! Empyrean god Tower Cloud wanted to break free, but he was completely unable to move. After this bout of consumption, he was already somewhat exhausted, and it was even more impossible for him to struggle free. Empyrean god Tower Cloud, we finally captured you. One of the patriarchs flew down and looked at him with a cold expression. If it weren't for the fact that the vile emperor isn't here, all of you would be dead already. Empyrean god Tower Cloud roared. The vile emperor definitely wasn't going to stay here any longer. After giving some instructions, he hurried back to take care of the situation. Huan Mingyue had been captured, and there was still a lot of work to be done. After all, he had significantly impacted their progress. There was no way he was going to stay here forever. He would rather send more powerful beings to guard this place than come here in person. It wasn't that he didn't have the patience, it was just that there was no need for him to do this. What he had to do was far more important. The problem is that he's not here. Yi Tianyun flew over to him. If he was here, I wouldn't have come out, idiot. Empyrean god Tower Cloud glared at him and gritted his teeth. Don't think that you can hide in there forever. There's no point in hiding in there. When the battle between the god emperors begins and you're the only power left, you'll know what kind of enemy you're facing. The battle between the god emperors begins? How long before it begins? Yi Tianyun asked. There's no need for you to know that. By the time you realize what's going to happen, everything will have already been reduced to dust. Empyrean god Tower Cloud roared with laughter. He felt like everything was a joke. Even if he was about to die, he wasn't fearful in the slightest. To them, as long as the vile emperor became the god emperor, they would be resurrected. Chapter 1673. After Heavenly God Sky Cloud was taken away, the surroundings quickly returned to normal. However, Yi Tianyun's heart was not calm at all. Even though he didn't know when the battle between the god emperors would begin, he believed that it would happen very soon. Everything would come at an extremely fast speed and catch them off guard. That was what Heavenly God Sky Cloud had said. Everything would be over before they could react. This meant that the army would be mobilized very soon. As for when, that was not very clear. Even Huan Mingyue didn't know this. Her main responsibility was to control the barrier. She had no right to do anything. Thus, it was normal that she didn't know. The information she knew was limited. A full-scale attack, huh? Yi Tianyun thought back to the evil spirit tribe that had been constantly setting up teleportation portals. It looked like the war was really about to come. Once it came, their targets would naturally be the Yuelong God Realm and the Heaven Cultivation God Realm. These two God Realms would be the first to be destroyed. The reason was very simple. They wanted to steal the evil spirit's pearl. As for the Fecta God Realm, it was only a matter of time before it was discovered. Only his place was slightly safer and could last for another 1,000 years. If all the other forces were taken over, it would be an extremely tragic thing. When that time came, he would be the only force left. The evil spirit tribe would be eyeing this place covetously. That would be the most tragic thing. When the barrier disappeared, his god realm of the three realms would be instantly torn to pieces. When he returned to the god realm of the three realms, everything was the same. There were no problems. With the protection of the barrier, the cultivators inside naturally had a very easy time. Of course, they never allowed these cultivators to have a very easy time. There were still all kinds of danger zones. There was no guarantee of safety after entering, and they would still die. Without this kind of cruel training, they would definitely panic when faced with danger in the future. Those with higher cultivation bases could go to other god realms to train, and the level of danger was naturally higher. It's time to increase my speed. Otherwise, I won't be able to keep up. Tianyun looked at the situation. With the help of the Fekta god realm, the situation had improved greatly. With so many cores set up, the cultivation area had improved greatly, which greatly increased their breakthroughs. Under such favorable conditions, their situation naturally improved rapidly. However, it was still too slow. There was still a long way to go before he could successfully complete the main mission. After all, he needed to complete the highest level of the main mission, which required him to be an Empyrean in order to complete the corresponding mission. All of them need to be at the Empyrean level. The difficulty is really high. The main mission was divided into several stages. Tianyun only wanted to complete the highest difficulty, which was roughly 30 lower celestial venerables, 10 middle celestial venerables, and 5 upper celestial venerables. Since he had previously completed a special mission, which was the Alliance mission, he could reduce the requirements by half. This way, they only needed 15 lower Empyreans, 5 middle Empyreans, and 3 upper Empyreans. Although it was halved, the overall difficulty was still not low. From the start until now, there had not been a single heavenly venerate. It was already pretty good to have a divine lord, much less a heavenly venerate. Fortunately, all the people he had recruited were counted. For example, Venerate Feng Qiu and the newly joined heavenly goddess Luck were both included. However, heavenly gods like the heavenly god of Luck could only fill in for the upper heavenly venerate at most. Overall, they were only lacking lower heavenly venerables and middle heavenly venerables. It would be quite difficult to get so many heavenly venerables to join him. Tianyun also did not want to recruit all these powerhouses. This would undoubtedly be detrimental to his development. We still need a lot of time to develop. Tianyun shook his head. There was still a lot of time for them to break through. Then, his figure flashed and appeared beside Huan Mingyue. Huan Mingyue was still meditating in place. Her forehead was covered in cold sweat, but it quickly evaporated. When Tianyun came in, she slowly opened her eyes. A hint of fatigue could be seen in her beautiful eyes. It was clear that it was very difficult to break this slave contract. You're here. What's the situation outside? Did that bastard chase after us? She was very worried about the situation. If the evil emperor chased after them, it would not be a good thing. See for yourself. Tianyun threw over a recording disc and let Huan Mingyue see the contents herself. After Huan Mingyue took it, she began to read the contents. Her expression was very interesting. The content recorded was naturally that the evil emperor had led a large group of powerhouses to constantly attack the barrier. Later, they had even sent out their divine will, but it was of no use. This is too amazing. I've never seen such a magical barrier. It's like that barrier. Huan Mingyue was overjoyed. This way, she was undoubtedly very safe. This way, you can break it without worry. How much have you broken now? Tianyun said with a smile. I've broken about half of it. Just a little more time, and I'll be able to break it. Huan Mingyue had been breaking it for a few years. Time flowed very quickly here. A month outside was a few years here. It was dozens of times faster. No matter what, Tianyun will definitely arrange for her to be in this kind of room, so that she can use every second to break the seal. Time. Tianyun narrowed his eyes. What if I expand this great formation to the entire 3 realms god realm? What he needed now was time, and a lot of time. However, a time formation was not that easy to set up. The time and manpower required were extremely large. The more people cultivated inside, the more resources would be expended. As such, only a small number of cultivation sites would provide this kind of time formation. As for covering the entire god realm, that was almost impossible. The resources required could only be described as terrifying. However, Tianyun couldn't care less now. He had to increase his overall strength immediately. Soon, he went to find the heavenly misfortune god and the god spirit tribe patriarch. I have a bold plan now, and that is to set up time formations on all the planets. Set them up at all costs. Can you do it? Lee Tianyun looked at them with a scorching gaze. I don't want to say how high the level, but it has to be at least 10 times faster than normal. After hearing this plan, they were initially taken aback. The heavenly misfortune god and the others turned their heads and said, "That would consume too many resources. I don't recommend doing this. Setting up a small portion is fine, but setting up a large portion is really not advisable. The time required, no problem." The elders of the Divine Spirit clan shouted at the same time, full of fighting spirit. Chapter 1674. As the core members of the God realm of the three realms, all of them agreed that they could do it. They didn't care why Lee Tianyun had this idea, but as long as Lee Tianyun gave them the mission, they would do it. Alright, then I'll leave it to you. If you need any resources, you can ask Celestial Empress. Lee Tianyun nodded at Shi Shuayun, indicating that he would leave this to Shi Shuayun. Alright, let's go set it up right now. They moved swiftly, immediately leaving this place to set up the time formation. The heavenly misfortune god and the others were all dumbstruck. They didn't even have the chance to voice any doubts. Wasn't this a little too decisive? From a rational point of view, this expenditure was simply too astonishing, and it was detrimental to the development of the God realm of the three realms. Maintaining so many time formations required an astronomical amount of resources. Otherwise, most of the God realm would already be doing this, and there wouldn't be only a small portion of areas that could be used to set up time formations. Heavenly venerate heavenly cloud, isn't this a little too much? You're going to exhaust yourself to death by setting up so many time formations. I'd rather you set up a small portion of the area. That way, you'll still be able to sustain it. If you set up too many time formations, you'll expend a lot of resources at once. The heavenly misfortune god was very experienced in this regard, and she began to do some calculations for Lee Tianyun. Maintaining a time formation requires a lot of resources. Even if it's only 10 times the flow of time, it'll require, heavenly misfortune god, do you know why they're so obedient to my instructions? Lee Tianyun interjected with a smile. You're the realm leader, so they'll definitely listen to your orders, the heavenly misfortune god replied. No, they think that since I've spoken, then I have the ability to resolve this issue, so there's no need for them to worry about it, Lee Tianyun explained with a smile. That's impossible. So many resources are required. Just spirit stones alone will require a huge amount of resources. That doesn't even include other resources. There are simply too many things required, and it's not something that can be easily filled. Heavenly God Misfortune shook his head. Even their Fecta divine realm would not be able to fill this gap so easily. Tell me, is what you're thinking about going to last for a long time? Lee Tianyun looked at the two sisters. Yes, for a long period of time. Not too long, but at least 1,000 years. The amount of resources required for this is quite terrifying. Heavenly God Misfortune did some calculations and was quite astonished. I'm very sorry. What I need is a short-term one. Even if it can't last for 1,000 years, 100 years is enough. Lee Tianyun looked at them indifferently and said, the battle between the God Emperors is coming soon. What's the point of keeping so many resources? Are you going to bury them with yourself? They were stunned. Only now did they understand why Lee Tianyun was so anxious. It was because of the battle between God Emperors. If he thought about it carefully, that was indeed the case. Their habitual thinking made them think of the terrifying amount of resources from the very beginning. Now that he thought about it carefully, he realized that what the three realms God realm lacked right now was powerhouses. What it lacked was an increase in overall strength. Now that they had all the outstanding cultivation sites, all they lacked was time. The time formation could undoubtedly fill this gap, but the problem was that it would expend too many resources. However, maintaining it for 100 years was not an issue. This would undoubtedly buy them a lot of time, especially for the battle between the God Emperors that Lee Tianyun was talking about. If the battle between the God Emperors came, they wouldn't have time to use all the resources they had. Now that you mention it, that does seem to be the case. The heavenly god Misfortune and the others were extremely embarrassed. They hadn't thought about this for a while. Even if time is accelerated, 100 years is only 1,000 years. For most cultivators, that's only the blink of an eye, but for us, it's a race against time. Lee Yun spoke with a serious expression. I don't know when the battle between the god emperors will begin, but every little bit of time is a little bit of time. If the battle between the god emperors only begins in 200 years, then we'll be able to cultivate for another 1,000 years. Perhaps when the time comes, our forces still won't be able to match the power of the other major forces, but at least we'll be able to put up a fight against the evil spirit race. Lee Tianyun was making such sacrifices in preparation for the upcoming battle. He couldn't protect the Three Realms God realm forever, so he had to become more powerful as soon as possible. According to the time limit of the barrier, it could last for about 1,000 years. However, if the battle between the god emperors were to erupt within 100 years, then he couldn't just watch as the forces outside were destroyed while they hid here, right? As long as the forces outside were destroyed, his side wouldn't be far from destruction. He might have the support of the system, but if he didn't have absolute power, then there was no way he could protect the Three Realms God realm. As such, they would have to rely on themselves for the future. Whether they could survive or not would depend on themselves. He had always hoped that there wouldn't be any large-scale casualties in the Three Realms God realm, but there were some things that he couldn't control, so he could only minimize the losses. The best thing to do now was to buy as much time as possible for this battle. Realm ruler Heavenly Cloud, we were too naive. The Heavenly Luck Goddess said awkwardly, our Fecta Divine Realm has always been spending too much on resources, and it's almost impossible for us to make up for our lack of resources. It's alright, your idea is also very good, so your plan will definitely be very reasonable. However, this is a critical period, so we can only use this method. Lee Tianyun said in a solemn voice, in my opinion, the true battle will erupt in less than 100 years. The evil spirit race was very active, and it was clear that they were going to erupt in the near future. It was very unlikely that they would be able to survive for another 1,000 years. When that time came, this place would become a safe place, and the rest of the regions would fall into darkness. Alright, if that's the case, then we'll help set up a special time formation that can accelerate time by more than 50 times. However, that's going to be quite costly. The two of them turned to Tianyun with smiles. Tianyun's eyes lit up. Then I'll leave it to the two of you. Just set it up in a special region. The more rapid the flow of time, the more costly it would be, so it would undoubtedly be best to set it up in a special region. For example, they would require more contribution points in order to enter seclusion. For those who had performed well and made great contributions, the required contribution points would be lowered to allow them to stay in the sect for a longer period of time. After coming up with a plan, they all set off to set up the formation. Lee Yun murmured to himself as he looked at their departing figures, looks like I'll have to make some preparations too. Chapter 1675. After Lee Tianyun arranged everything, he did not choose to stay in the Three Realms God domain to inspect. He believed that they would definitely be able to do it well, and it would definitely exceed the effect he needed. He had always been at ease with their work, so there was no need to inspect, nor was there a need to stay here to supervise. Moreover, with Shi Shuiyun here, she understood his heart and naturally knew what he needed. What he needed to do now was to frantically break through his cultivation as fast as he could. He had to break through to the heavenly god stage before the battle between the god emperors. Not only did he have to break through to the heavenly god stage, he also had to have a large amount of resources to provide for the Three Realms God domain. The resources needed to set up the time formation on a large scale would definitely be astronomical. Thus, if he stayed in the Three Realms God domain, no matter how many resources he had, they would be used up. For this reason, he had to come out and search for more resources. Resources were definitely not something that he could dig himself. He did not know how long it would take to gather enough resources. Especially since there was not only one type of resource, there were also many materials that he needed. What was the fastest way to get resources? Naturally, it was by robbing. Nothing was faster than snatching. He naturally would not go to the god domain to snatch them, but to eradicate the evil spirit race. Snatching from the hands of the evil spirit race was undoubtedly the best way. Not only could he eliminate the evil spirit race, he could also obtain resources. It was simply killing two birds with one stone. The area that Yi Tianyun was heading to was not the hiding spot of the evil spirit race, but the barrier area. He wanted to take a look at the situation of the barrier. At the same time, there were actually quite a few evil spirit race near the barrier. He could start from here now and even get a coordinate near the barrier so that he could come over at any time in the future. The location of the barrier was naturally at the edge of the 5th grade god domain. Before coming to the 5th grade god domain, most cultivators thought that this world was boundless. In reality, there were boundaries. Whether it was Fan Yu or the god domain, there were boundaries. It was just that Fan Yu's limit was relatively far, so it was very difficult for anyone to fly to the barrier area. After all, Fan Yu's cultivation was relatively low, and there were not many who could fly. Normally, they would not fly there. There was no point in flying to the barrier. There were many powerhouses in the god domain, and they could often fly to the barrier region. The evil spirit race came from this barrier. As for Fan Yu's barrier, there was no evil spirit race that could pass through. As for what was on the other side of the barrier, no one knew. However, they only needed to know one thing: the barrier against a grade 5 god realm. When Yi Tianyun arrived at the grade 5 god domain, he also saw many god domains that had been destroyed. The aftereffects of the battle between god emperors also existed in the grade 5 god domain. He followed the map that Huan Mingyue had given him and passed through many damaged god territories. Along the way, he occasionally saw experts passing by. However, they only glanced at each other for a moment before leaving. They didn't try to stop him. If someone intercepted him and robbed him, he would not hesitate to rob the other party. Although it was not the evil spirit race, he would not be courteous to those ruthless people. With a fat sheep delivering itself to his doorstep, why would he stand on ceremony? However, none of them stopped him. Everyone seemed to have their own mission, flying around as if they were looking for something. Yi Tianyun glanced at them. Their cultivation was not low. All of them were at the heavenly god level, and the weakest was at the upper heavenly venerable level. In the current chaotic region, without a strong cultivation, one would not dare to come out casually. As a grade 5 god domain, they naturally had more information than a grade 4 god domain. Therefore, they already knew about the situation of the evil spirit race. However, they did not know what actions they would take. However, there was one thing that was quite ironic. Those who had the evil spirit's pearl were all grade 4 god domains. The Fecta god domain was considered a grade 5 god domain. The other two god domains were grade 4 god domains. Compared to grade 5 god domains, their protection was naturally much weaker. It was not that they deliberately chose the weaker god domains to protect. Rather, the cultivation god domain was not weak to begin with. It was a grade 5 god domain. However, as time passed, it gradually declined to the level of a grade 4 god domain. Because Yuelong's god domain was more hidden, choosing a grade 4 god domain was also more low-key. However, Yuelong's god domain was very strong. It was very close to a grade 5 god domain. Grade 5 god domain. Yi Tianyun did not go to visit them. It was not good to visit anyone at this time. Who knew if there would be any traders in these grade 5 god domains? Moreover, he was not interested. Right now, he just wanted to snatch resources and increase his cultivation. It was that simple. After passing through many god domains, he soon arrived near the barrier area. The barrier area was very empty. There was nothing. Not to mention planets, there was not even a small piece of rock. This place seemed rather empty, making him wonder if he had gone the wrong way. However, as he continued forward, he soon knew that he had not gone the wrong way. After flying for a short distance, he immediately saw a huge crystal wall. It was all stacked together, forming a thick wall. Its height was very limited. It was at most a few hundred feet tall, but its width could not be seen. This was the barrier that separated the evil spirit race from the outside. Rather than calling it a barrier, It looked more like a huge patch that filled up the entrance. It was undoubtedly more appropriate to describe it this way. He turned his head to look at both sides, but did not see any evil spirit race, nor did he see any evil spirit race coming out. He quickly flew to the front of the barrier and reached out his hand to gently climb on it. He immediately felt an extremely compressed energy transmitted from his fingers. This gave him a feeling that it was indestructible. Even a peak heavenly god would not be able to damage it at all. Crystal barrier, able to block the attacks of powerhouses. Even a peak heavenly god would not be able to easily destroy it. However, after a long period of damage, it would still be broken through. However, it would be extremely difficult and would take a very long time. The appraisal eye listed the corresponding information, letting Yi Tianyun know that this was not absolutely invincible. It could still be destroyed. The principle of this crystal barrier was very simple. It was very hard, and there was not a single weak spot. Even if a single attack was made, the rest of the energy would quickly fill in and repair the damaged area. Therefore, it was not a problem to destroy this barrier, but the prerequisite was that the entire barrier had to be destroyed before they could enter from the other side. Of course, nothing was absolute. If it was really that absolute, there would not be any evil spirit race coming over from that side. The crystal barrier had cracks. After being destroyed for a long time, small cracks would appear from time to time. Chapter 1676. There were still loopholes in such a shocking barrier. However, it was already very good to have such an effect. It was better than coming over easily. Apart from that, the Heaven Creator race would come over to remove the barrier and open a small hole for the evil spirit race to come in. This was the easiest. They didn't need to destroy the barrier or wait for a crack to appear. They could come over easily. This crystal barrier was made by the Heaven Creator race, so it was naturally controlled by them. After touching it for a while, Yi Tianyun was just about to fly to other areas to see how wide the barrier was when two figures suddenly appeared near him. He quickly raised his head and saw that two intermediate heavenly gods had appeared near him. They looked very aggressive. Each of them was wearing sturdy armor and had heavenly gods' spiritual treasures all over their bodies. They looked like real gods of war. When they saw Yi Tianyun, they were stunned. One of them shouted at him, "Why are you so close to the barrier? Hurry up and leave." From their words, there was no doubt that they were the experts in charge of this area. Most of the grade 5 divine realms were still abiding by their duties and helping to guard the crystal barrier. If the evil spirit race came out, the grade 5 divine realms would definitely be the first to suffer. If they didn't care, the evil spirit race would wreak havoc here. When that happened, their disciples would definitely suffer when they went out to train. Thus, regardless of whether they were willing or not, they had to guard this place obediently. "Sai, don't be so rash. Little brother, this isn't a safe place. We don't know which organization you're from, but it's not good to wander around here." A intermediate heavenly god reached out to stop his companion, indicating that he should not be so serious. His attitude was undoubtedly much better than the one beside him. The heavenly god beside him couldn't be bothered with Yi Tianyun anymore. He had already been warned, but whether he listened or not was another matter. "Seniors, I'm just an itinerant cultivator. I heard that there was a situation here, so I came to take a look. Speaking of which, do the evil spirit race often appear here?" Yi Tianyun asked. "So what if there is the evil spirit race? Are you going to guard this place?" The heavenly god beside him grumbled unhappily. He felt that Yi Tianyun was talking nonsense. "Heaven God Shui, don't be so rash. Calm down. Isn't it just that you've been a little unhappy lately? Is there a need to do this?" The god beside him tried to persuade him. "God Mang, how can I be happy? I loathe these loose cultivators the moment I see them. And there are even loose cultivators who want to dig through the crystal barrier? They're just idiots. I've never seen anyone so foolish as to want to dig through the crystal barrier. It's a good thing they can't dig it out. If they could, it would be serious. I don't know what's in their heads. Don't they know the consequences if the crystal barrier is broken?" Shui Tian was very dissatisfied with Shui Tian's nagging. He vented all the things he had encountered before, which made even Yi Tianyun feel that he couldn't bear it anymore. Of course, it wasn't that he couldn't tolerate Heavenly God Shui, but he couldn't tolerate those vagrant cultivators who had come to dig up the crystal barrier. Although he was a rogue cultivator, he still knew a lot of information, especially about the crystal barrier. How could he not know about the evil spirit race? That was obviously impossible. He must have felt that the crystal barrier was very valuable and wanted to take it away. Or he might have felt that there was an extremely high amount of energy inside the crystal barrier and wanted to dig it back to cultivate. Fortunately, the crystal barrier couldn't be dug away. Otherwise, it would really be completely dug out. Such selfish cultivators were not in the minority. In fact, there were quite a lot of them. Senior, I wouldn't do such a thing. I'm just here to take a look. If I see any evil spirit race, I'll eliminate them. Yi Tianyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No wonder Heavenly God Shui was so arrogant. How could he not be arrogant after seeing that he was a vagrant cultivator? Yi Tianyun didn't have any insignia on him, but the two of them had corresponding insignia. It was a long sword, indicating that they were heavenly gods of the Jianfeng divine realm. Yi Tianyun had a very good impression of the Jianfeng divine realm. After all, the Jianfeng divine realm was on the blacklist. This immediately made him have a good impression of the Jianfeng divine realm. To be on the blacklist of the evil spirit race, they must have done many things to exterminate the evil spirit race. They were naturally on the same side as him. Heavenly God Shui, see? I told you not to be so arrogant. Not all vagrant cultivators are like this. Heavenly God Mang looked on with gratification. Tianyun, there was finally a reasonable vagrant cultivator. Who can say for sure? Heavenly God Shui's tone softened a little. All right, you've always been so stubborn, Heavenly God Mang said to Tianyun with a smile. No matter what you think, this place is still quite dangerous. The evil spirit race doesn't appear as crazily as before. However, there will still be evil spirit race here, and they're the stronger ones. It's quite dangerous for you to appear here with your cultivation. I understand, I'm just taking a look, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. If I'm discovered and I can't beat them, I still know how to escape. Escape? Do you think you can escape so easily? Any random heavenly god evil spirit would be enough to kill you. Heavenly God Shui retorted. Yi Tianyun was only an early-stage upper heavenly venerable on the surface, so people would naturally think that he was weak. Alright, that's enough. Heavenly God Mang was a rather calm person, and he gestured for his companion to not be so impulsive. At the same time, he said to Tianyun with a smile, "Little brother, don't mind us. How about this? We're here to patrol. If you're interested, do you want to patrol with us?" Heavenly God Mang, you want him to patrol with us? Heavenly God Shui asked in confusion. Is there a problem? This little brother also wants to take responsibility, the responsibility to protect this place. Are you saying that I'm not allowed to? Heavenly God Mang said with a smile. Did you forget what the Sword Edge Region Lord said? We can only defeat the evil spirit race if we work together. Sword Edge Region Lord. Heavenly God Shui fell silent for a moment before turning to Yi Tianyun and said, "Don't be too slow, we're in charge of a large area. If you encounter a powerful evil spirit race, just hide to the side, understand?" Heavenly God Shui's mouth was a little poisonous, but he was a good person. I understand. Yi Tianyun smiled and didn't mind. Anyone would be furious. Heavenly God Shui had seen many wandering cultivators come to dig the crystal barrier, so how could he be nice to wandering cultivators? Heavenly God Mang's attitude was good, and he felt that he was quite amiable. As expected, different cultivators had different attitudes. Chapter 1677. Yi Tianyun followed them out on patrol. They didn't see any evil spirit tribe members along the way, so they chatted happily. Initially, God Shui was a little biased against Yi Tianyun, but he became more enthusiastic after the discussion. Kid, I really admire your way of thinking. It would be great if all the wandering cultivators could think like you. But I've seen so many wandering cultivators trying to steal this crystal barrier. It's too selfish of them to dig this crystal barrier and bring it back to cultivate. God Shui cursed. The news of the crystal barrier has already spread far and wide. Many people in the 5th grade and even the 4th grade regions know about it. Even the 4th grade regions would have heard about it if they could come here. But they still chose to do so. That's really too unreasonable. Fortunately, the crystal barrier isn't something that can be dug out just because you want it. Oh right, I also remember that there was a wandering cultivator who was meditating here and wanted to directly absorb the crystal barrier. Just looking at him pisses me off. After I taught him a good lesson, I threw him to a certain planet. Heavenly God Shui's mouth continued to chatter like a chatterbox. He didn't have so many prejudices after getting to know each other. Isn't that for sure? If this world is invaded by the evil spirit tribe, then everything will be over. The evil spirit tribe is extremely cruel. Anyone who isn't one of their clansmen will be listed as targets to be devoured. Tianyun joined in the conversation. Of course, they don't know the situation of the evil spirit tribe. Relying on the evil spirit tribe is simply courting death. Who would believe the evil spirit tribe's bullshit? But there are really a lot of idiots who believe the evil spirit tribe's bullshit. God Shui shook his head helplessly. Wait, there's movement up ahead. God Mang was just about to join in the conversation when he suddenly stopped and signaled for them to be quiet. Tianyun focused his gaze and looked ahead. Upon closer inspection, there was indeed a small crack on the crystal barrier. It looked extremely strange. It's a crack, and it's a new crack. God Mang said with a serious expression, "Prepare for battle and request reinforcements." Not only did Heaven God Mang's expression turn serious, but even Heaven God Shui's expression turned serious. At the same time, he quickly took out a communication jade pendant and crushed it without hesitation. The two of them were intermediate heavenly gods, yet they immediately chose to crush the moment they saw a crack. Without a doubt, this was an extremely big situation. It was possible that there were other powerful evil spirit races in the surroundings. How could his companions not be there to receive him? Little brother, hurry up and fly back. The further the better. Heaven God Shui gestured for him to leave quickly and not stay here any longer. I also want to stay here and fight. Tianyun's expression was calm. This was exactly the kind of battle he needed, and he just happened to run into it. At the same time, he could also see how they got out. Kid, be rational. Soon, their companions will sense this aura and come over. If you don't escape now, it'll be too late. Their cultivations are all above the heavenly god level. Heavenly God Shui grabbed his shoulder and said, "It's not easy to find a reasonable wandering cultivator. Once the battle is over, we'll drag you out for a drink. So you can't die." Heavenly God Shui's cultivation was a level higher than his, but they didn't put on airs. They felt like old friends at first sight with Tianyun and wanted to befriend him. The main reason was that wandering cultivators were all idiots recently, which made him very unhappy. Tianyun's way of thinking was to his liking, so he would naturally treat him well. All right then. Tianyun pondered for a moment, then nodded at them and turned to leave. The two of them looked at each other and didn't rush over immediately. Instead, they hid at the side. There were cracks on the crystal barrier, but they weren't the Heaven Creator race and couldn't repair the barrier. Thus, they could only hide at the side and wait for reinforcements to arrive. Then they would rush over together and get rid of all these trash. This was their mission. Not only was it to patrol, but it was also to immediately inform their companions when there was a situation and deal with it together. If there were only a few evil spirit races, they wouldn't have called for their companions, but it was different when there was a crack. Then, they quietly hid at the side and gradually disappeared into the corner. As for Tianyun, he didn't leave. Instead, he entered the void and used the 5 dragon divine boots to infiltrate more thoroughly. His concealment ability was even better than Heavenly God Shui and the others. In terms of concealment power, there was no power that could compare to the power of the void. Hiding in another world was much better than blending in with the surrounding world. He didn't rush over. Instead, he hid at the side and stared at the crack. As time passed, the crack gradually expanded. Then, thick black energy surged in from the other side, as if forming a bridge for the evil spirit race to cross over. However, the crystal barrier started to flicker continuously, and the original crack started to repair bit by bit. However, the black energy on the other side was even more astonishing. It furiously widened the crack, and for a moment, it was in a deadlock. It was extremely difficult to repair this side, but the other side couldn't come over either. After a while, pitch-black figures appeared from the void. They were all evil spirit race gods, and even the weakest of them was a lesser heavenly god. They were dressed completely differently. Compared to ordinary evil spirit race gods, they were dressed in pitch-black clothes. They looked like some kind of guard. Or rather, they looked like some kind of mysterious force. When they appeared, the surroundings were filled with killing intent. Black energy quickly emitted from their bodies. Following that, they all awakened one after another, erupting with their strongest power. This energy all fused together and transformed into an extremely sharp black spear, heavily piercing through the crack. Then he quickly pried it to the side, wanting to pry open the crack a little bit. Under normal circumstances, the crystal barrier would be able to sweep in the surrounding energy and fill in the gap. But it was different now. There were many cracks, and they were originally empty, so it was relatively slow to heal. This gave the evil spirit race a chance to take advantage of. What a powerful force! No wonder they said that they were requesting for reinforcements. When Yi Tianyun saw this scene, he felt the pressure increase. There were 15 heavenly gods in this group. After they joined forces, their strength increased by several levels. How could the two of them deal with them? They would directly become cannon fodder. Under the situation of working together from the inside and outside, the crack started to be pried open bit by bit, and more black energy started to surge out from inside. From the looks of it, the evil spirit race was about to enter. Chapter 1678. Heaven God Shui and the others stared at the crack. Tianyun also stared at it from the side. They were very nervous, but they didn't dare to move at all. Heaven God Shui and the others wanted to stab them in the back so that they could break their formation. But if they did that, they would definitely be discovered, and they would be completely wiped out before reinforcements arrived. 15 heavenly gods against 2 heavenly gods. One didn't even need to think to know what the result would be. At the same time, these 15 Empyrean spirits all had high cultivation bases. Even though they were lesser Empyrean gods, they were still a level stronger than ordinary Empyrean spirits. Yi Tianyun felt a strange energy from their bodies. It was as if they had been imbued with a power similar to that of evil spirits, which greatly strengthened them. Therefore, ordinary lower heavenly gods would lose for sure if they faced them. Unless they had some kind of treasure, they might be able to win this battle. If they didn't have any advantage, they would definitely be beaten up by the other party. There was a reason why Heaven God Shui and the others didn't dare to act recklessly. They must have felt the power of these heavenly gods, which was why they didn't dare to act recklessly. As this group of heavenly gods pried open the crack, a small opening appeared in the crack. Compared to before, it was only a little bit wider, and it could be described as a hair's width. It was really too small. Judging from the naked eye, there was basically no change in appearance. However, just by opening such a small opening, a gust of black qi gushed out from within, and it was much faster than before. Soon, after waves of black energy surged in, it quickly condensed and formed a complete evil spirit race. The evil spirit race that appeared was not the same. It should be said that it was similar to this special batch of evil spirits in front of them. They were slightly different from ordinary evil spirits. This was like the difference between ordinary mortals and cultivators. All of them had different temperaments and bloodlines. This meant that those that came in were all evil spirits with rich bloodlines. However, their cultivation levels weren't high, only at the Earth Lord level. Perhaps too high a level couldn't pass through this crack at all. The difficulty was too high. Hurry up and help. Heaven God Shui and the others were extremely anxious. They didn't want to watch the evil spirit race run away. That meant that many more evil spirits were coming. However, as the evil spirit race came in one after another, their reinforcements still did not arrive. When an evil spirit race came in, his body was not black, but purple. When Yi Tianyun saw the purple body of the evil spirit race, he was immediately startled. He could feel that the purple body of the evil spirit race possessed a very strong mental power. Sure enough, as soon as the purple evil spirit race appeared, it turned its head and stared in the direction of Heavenly God Shui and the others. Then he pointed to the side and said in a deep voice, "There are enemies hiding there." This purple evil spirit race's cultivation was not high. It was only at the level of the Lord of Heaven. It was slightly higher than the previous one. However, even though he only had the cultivation of the Lord of Heaven, he could easily see through the concealment of a heavenly god. This kind of ability caused even Yi Tianyun to be greatly shocked. Under normal circumstances, it was almost impossible to do this, but this purple evil spirit race was able to do it to this extent, easily seeing through it. After pointing it out, the group of evil spirit race turned their heads and looked over, their eyes bursting with shocking killing intent. Almost without any hesitation, 8 of the evil spirit race quickly separated, while the remaining 7 continued to maintain the spear. However, its power was much weaker, but it seemed like it could still be maintained. The 8 evil spirit races' actions were completely in unison, and they all rushed towards Heavenly God Shui. Heavenly God Shui's was exposed, but Yi Tianyun's was not. The direction they were hiding in was completely different. Damn it, what the hell is that thing? It can actually see through our hiding spot. Heavenly God Shui and the others cursed angrily, then turned around and fled. They did not plan to fight with these 8 evil spirit race. As they fled, their hidden figures were immediately exposed. The 2 of them quickly flew towards their own divine domain. This way, they should be able to meet up with their teammates very quickly. At that time, if they joined forces with their opponents, they would be able to intercept and kill these evil spirit race. However, reality is always cruel. These 8 evil spirit races were like twins, and they quickly joined forces to form a huge evil spirit. With all their might, they stepped on the void and closed the distance between them at an astonishing speed. In just a short while, Heavenly God Shui and the others were caught up by a large margin. They were only a short distance away from being caught up. Too abnormal. This group of people is really abnormal. No wonder they said that we absolutely can't fight them. This time, we're doomed. We can only fight them head-on. Yes, we can only fight them head-on. This time, it was Meng Tian's turn to have very few people left. Neither of them revealed despair in their eyes. Instead, they had raging fighting spirit. Since they were going to die anyway, why not fight to the death? Perhaps they could drag a few of them down with them. Immediately, the 2 of them quickly turned around and immediately summoned their own treasures. However, they only had 1 lower heavenly god spirit treasure, and the rest were all heavenly venerate spirit treasures. After summoning them, they roared loudly and pounced towards the evil spirits, preparing to fight them head-on. Boom! 2 against 8. The huge evil spirits waved their fists and smashed down heavily, sending the 2 flying and injuring them. It was clear who was superior. When they joined forces, their strength was too strong. They were even stronger than those alliance grand formations. Perhaps this was the real joint formation, as if they were truly one. So strong. The 2 of them coughed a few times and even coughed up blood. However, they quickly adjusted their state and prepared to fight again. Troublemakers die. The evil spirits that had transformed into evil spirits roared in a hoarse voice. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in front of them again and fiercely waved a few times, exchanging blows with them again. Boom, boom. This time, the evil spirits were sent flying slightly, but Heavenly God Shui and Heavenly God Mang's situation was exaggerated. Half of their bodies were blasted away, but they quickly recovered. However, it would still take some time for them to fully recover. However, they didn't have that much time to prepare. In the next instant, the evil spirits that had transformed into evil spirits charged over and aimed their fists at Heavenly God Shui. As long as they were hit, they would definitely be smashed into a bloody mist. It's over. Heavenly God Shui smiled bitterly. He couldn't even hold his weapon firmly, so how could he block, let alone escape? At this moment, an afterimage pierced through the back of the evil spirits. Accompanied by a flash of silver light, the huge body of the evil spirits was split into several pieces. The evil spirits that had united inside were all repelled, and 2 of them were directly killed. Such a joint formation was instantly broken. Heavenly God Shui, didn't you say you would invite me for a drink? You can't go back on your word. Chapter 1679. Yi Tianyun's appearance stunned them. How could an upper-level heavenly venerable be so powerful? That was a joint formation. Unless one was an upper-level heavenly god, it would be very difficult to deal with it. However, Tianyun had broken it and killed 2 heavenly gods. Although their cultivation levels were relatively low, they were still celestial gods. After all, Yi Tianyun was only an upper-level heavenly venerable, yet he was able to kill heavenly gods. It was truly unbelievable. It's you? Heavenly God Shui was still very shocked after he came back to his senses. Even Heavenly God Mang was shocked. The person who had been patrolling with them before had such astonishing strength and even saved Heavenly God Shui. Don't be me. Let's take advantage of the fact that their formation is broken and quickly exterminate them. As soon as he said that, Yi Tianyun quickly put on the voodoo with divine set and immediately buffed them with super strong healing power. With this super strong healing power, their recovery speed was astonishing, and they returned to normal in the blink of an eye. Although there were still some injuries that had yet to recover, this was not a big problem. The 2 of them didn't say anything else and immediately charged over. Since the evil spirit race was scattered, it was undoubtedly easier to fight. Especially when dealing with those with lower cultivation levels, it would be much easier to deal with them. Yi Tianyun also targeted the evil spirit race with lower cultivation levels and cleaned up the weakest ones first to prevent them from joining forces again and transforming into the evil spirits. He took so long to come out because he wanted to find the weak point of the formation and destroy it in one fell swoop. After finding it, he quickly pierced through it to destroy it in one fell swoop. Now that they were scattered, he began to harvest crazily. He didn't hold back at all. He used his crazy damage mode and his heavenly venerable spirit treasure set. Facing a lower-level heavenly god, it could simply be described as a harvest. Shui Tianxin and the others were shocked when they saw what was going on. This could simply be described as crazy. He was even crazier than them. Such terrifying power was crazily harvesting all the way, and every move was fatal. Heaven God Shui and the others didn't fall behind either. They followed suit and slaughtered their enemies, causing them to be utterly defeated. The evil spirit race, who was continuing to pry open the cracks in the distance, saw that they might not be able to persevere any longer. Without any hesitation, they stopped prying open the cracks and turned to attack. If this went on, their companions would all die. What was the point of prying open this crack? They were completely unable to attend to one thing and lose sight of another. At this time, the number of evil spirit races coming through the crack rapidly decreased. Previously, they could still come one by one, but without the help of this side, they immediately slowed down, and the speed at which the cracks healed increased. However, the evil spirit race that had crawled over quickly escaped with the other evil spirit races. They did not dare to stay here any longer. With such a low cultivation base, even an Empyrean would be crushed. Hence, it was better to escape first. You want to escape? Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. Just as he was about to chase after the evil spirit race, a group of experts suddenly surged over from the side. From their clothes, he could immediately tell that they were reinforcements from the Jianfeng god territory. They came with a large group of heavenly god powerhouses, at least more than 10 heavenly gods. Without a doubt, they all knew how many experts they would need to send to suppress the crack. It's reinforcements. Shui Tianxin and the others were overjoyed. This way, they would be able to catch all of the evil spirit race in one fell swoop. That's right, we've finally held on until they arrive. Meng Tianxin brandished his weapon, his morale soaring. This time, it was their turn to suppress the other party and not be in a passive state. Let's go! When the evil spirit race saw the reinforcements, they chose to retreat without hesitation. Originally, they wanted to kill Shui Tianxin and the other cultivators and then continue to pry open the crack. Now, it seemed that it was impossible, so they could only retreat. You still want to leave? It won't be that easy. Shui Tianxin and the others roared and chased after them. Their companions who came to support also surrounded them, wanting to stop them. The many evil spirit race gathered again, forming a huge evil spirits, and fled forward. At the same time, they also brought the other new evil spirit race and fled forward. Especially the purple evil spirit race, they were listed as targets of protection. This purple evil spirit race must be in an important position, otherwise, they would not have been so protected. However, it was not easy for them to escape. Otherwise, all the reinforcements would have come for nothing. The reinforcements that came all surrounded them, and each of them exploded with their strongest power, bombarding them. The evil spirit race could only passively defend. The key for them now was to escape, not stay and fight. They had already achieved their goal, so it was time to escape. Yan Yun also chased after them, killing the fish that escaped the net. With so many fat sheep, he definitely would not miss it. Even if he did not kill them, he would strengthen them with healing power, so that he could obtain experience. His actions surprised the other powerhouses of the Jianfeng divine realm. They did not know where a heavenly venerable came from, and he had such a strange ability. Most importantly, his power was not weaker than theirs, which was even more strange. After Shui Tianxin and the others reminded them in advance that they were on the same side, they did not explain too much. Anyway, it was fine as long as they were on the same side, the rest could be discussed after the end. As they chased after them, the evil spirit race's consumption gradually increased, but the army that had turned into evil spirits was still a little unbreakable. Unless Tianyun targeted their weakness again, it would be really difficult to stay. But this evil spirits was too fast, so fast that he could not catch up. How could the formation formed by so many heavenly gods easily catch up? Looks like I can only give it my all. I must make that purple evil spirit race stay. Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He could see that the purple evil spirit race was very important. If he did not make it stay, it would definitely be a disaster. Then Tianyun said in his heart, "Level up." Ding. Congratulations to player Tianyun for successfully breaking through to the middle stage upper heavenly venerable. Ding. Congratulations to player Tianyun for successfully breaking through to the late stage upper heavenly venerable. After leveling up twice in a row, his speed increased crazily. The 5 dragon divine boots under his feet emitted a dazzling golden light, as if he was really stepping on a giant dragon, roaring forward. The power of the dragon and phoenix divine meridians bloomed behind him, and his speed increased by several levels, surpassing the heavenly gods next to him, and he chased after the evil spirits. But his speed was still a little slower, or barely at the same level. This speed is too abnormal, isn't it? If I run with all my strength, can I still have this kind of effect? Tianyun cursed in his heart. He had leveled up twice in a row, but he still could not catch up. Chapter 1680. Upgrade my bloodline. Successfully upgraded Dragon Phoenix Divine Vein. Successfully upgraded Kuan Peng bloodline. After deducting a lot of crazy point, the 2 bloodlines with amazing speed improved a lot. Originally, they were still behind the speed of the United Evil Spirits, but in the blink of an eye, they caught up and far surpassed the speed of the United Evil Spirits. Such a terrifying speed made the heavenly gods chasing after them speechless. Obviously, Tianyun has the cultivation of Heavenly Master, but not only did he leave them far behind, he even caught up with the United Evil Spirits. In the blink of an eye, Tianyun was already at the back of the United Evil God with the 5 dragon divine spear, and once again, he hit the weak spot of the United Evil God. Boom! With a flash of silver light, the United Evil Spirits were pierced again, and this time several heavenly gods were killed. The main reason is that the evil spirits were scattered. After being scattered, they don't have that much power, and naturally their speed can't go up. After scattering them, Tianyun didn't stop attacking and instantly aimed at the purple evil spirit. The purple evil spirit was protected by a powerful evil spirit heavenly god, but Tianyun didn't hesitate to attack it. After the upgrade, his combat power has increased a lot, and he crazily threw the spear. 5 dragon roar. 5 dragons roared out, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of the purple evil spirit, and with a single strike, even the evil spirit heavenly god was blasted into pieces. Successfully killed purple evil spirit, obtained 50 compressed EXP, 50 compressed crazy point, 50 compressed sin point. At the same time, obtained purple spirit bloodline, rare, purple spirit blood, purple spirit bone, purple spirit soul. The EXP is not much. Originally the level of the Lord of Heaven is relatively low, so the EXP is not that much. But a lot of different materials dropped. It is no longer the simple evil spirit bloodline power, but changed to the purple spirit series. This means that the evil spirit race has a very different bloodline power. Tianyun can't check the situation for the time being, he can only see after the battle is over. You killed Violet Spirit. Empyrean god Vile Spirit's eyes were filled with killing intent, and the other Empyrean gods were all staring at Tianyun with murderous intent in their eyes. It was as if they wanted to kill the heretical emperor. That's right, the purple spirit who killed you. Not only did they kill your purple spirit, they even killed your evil emperor. Tianyun snorted coldly, immediately feeling that the purple spirit was very important to them. As for what it was used for, he wasn't too sure. He had to go back and ask Huan Mingyue about this to know what was going on. Kill him, kill him. All of the heavenly spirit gods pounced toward Tianyun as if they had gone insane. They no longer chose to run away. Instead, all of them charged toward Tianyun. He wouldn't kill anyone but Tianyun. However, the Jianfeng Divine Domains experts had already rushed over to support them and were fighting fiercely with them. Although it was still not easy to deal with the evil spirit race without the alliance formation, it was at least much easier than before. With their support, Tianyun didn't feel any pressure at all. Instead, he was able to easily kill the evil spirit race. In particular, he was constantly buffing the cultivators around him with healing powers. Experience points were constantly pouring in, and he was extremely profitable. These were all heavenly gods, so the experience points he obtained were absolutely explosive. If this continued, it wouldn't be difficult at all for him to break through to the heavenly god level. Very quickly, this group of evil spirit race were all eliminated, and not a single one was left. Many of them were injured, and some were on the verge of death, but they were still rescued. Overall, it was a 0 casualty rate. They were all stunned when they calculated this result. To put it bluntly, this was the first time in their history that they had 0 casualties. In the past, they had suffered heavy losses. Even if they won this battle, a few of their people would die, or they wouldn't be able to keep them. Now that they had eliminated this group of evil spirit race beings, it was unbelievable that they still had 0 casualties. This was mainly because Tianyun had broken the other party's formation. Coupled with his terrifying speed and astonishing healing power, it made it extremely easy for them to fight. It's over, it's finally over. For the first time in history, we have won a complete victory. All of the gods were extremely excited, and they could see the ecstasy in each other's eyes. Then they turned to look at Tianyun. Everything was because of Tianyun's help, which was why there was such an effect. If it wasn't for Tianyun's help, they would have definitely suffered heavy losses and wouldn't have been able to keep all of the evil spirit race here. This time, losing a group of special evil spirit races would definitely cause the evil emperor to feel so much pain that he wanted to die. The Jianfeng Divine Domain would once again be placed on an even higher ranking blacklist. Where did this little brother come from? He's really too strong. I wonder where his master came from? A god flew over and asked. The other gods all flew over and surrounded Tianyun in a circle, all of them extremely grateful. He's a lone cultivator. God Shui pushed his companion away and looked at Tianyun with a smile. Little brother, why don't you stop being a lone cultivator? With your ability, you can join our Jianfeng Divine Domain without any pressure. Moreover, I guarantee that you will be able to become a deacon, and it won't be a problem for you to become an elder in the future. God Shwe, you had a lot of opinions about Brother Tianyun before, and you even said that lone cultivators are insensible. God Mang revealed God Shwe's past with a smile. God Shwe's face turned red, and he glared at God Mang. How would I know that a bunch of lone cultivators are like this? How can they be happy? After I found out, my opinion of Brother Tianyun changed greatly. Then, he turned to look at Tianyun and smiled. How about it? Do you want to join our divine domain? The other gods trembled. They didn't expect Tianyun to be a lone cultivator. This was beyond their expectations. If they could rope him in, it would be like a god helping them when they fought in the future. Tianyun scratched his head embarrassedly. Actually, I'm not a lone cultivator, but from my actions, I seem like one. You're not a lone cultivator? Brother Tian, then which force do you belong to? God Shwe and the others didn't say anything about Tianyun lying to them. Sometimes, it was normal to hide one's identity when they were outside. Have you heard of the Three Realms divine domain? Tianyun didn't hesitate to throw out his divine domain. It's time to make friends with him. They were both blacklisted, so who else could he make friends with but the Jianfeng divine domain? What? The Three Realms divine domain that is blessed by the heavens? Where are you from? They stared at him and immediately knew which divine domain he was from. Tianyun scratched his head embarrassedly and smiled. It seems like my divine domain is quite famous. Chapter 1681. It seemed like the fame of the Three Realms divine realm had spread all the way here. This surprised him a little, but it was reasonable. After all, no god realm cultivator could enjoy such special treatment after ascending from the outer god realms. After receiving the blessings of the heavens, he gained an incomparably tyrannical protective barrier that was comparable to this crystal barrier. This meant that he was practically an invincible existence, and he didn't have to worry about being besieged by the surrounding forces, which made him relatively safe. This made many god realms quite envious. If they could have such a shield, they wouldn't have to worry about stirring up trouble everywhere. If he provoked other forces, they would just hide at home and not dare to come and find trouble with him. However, this exception was only limited to the Three Realms god realm. The other god realms didn't have such treatment. As such, the Three Realms divine domain was quite famous, and its name could be said to have shaken the entire Three Realms divine domain. In addition, in the battle just now, even the evil emperor had been flattened, and all of his subordinates had been killed. This caused them to feel incredibly shocked. What kind of concept was the evil emperor? The leader of the evil spirit race had suffered at the hands of the Three Realms divine realm. It was simply unimaginable that this was a new divine realm. Oftentimes, newly ascended divine realms would need to go through many years of grinding together before they could develop. Unless one had a powerful backer, they would basically be conquered. This had always been the iron rule. However, the divine realm of the Three Realms had broken this iron law. Their overall strength was not strong, but they were blessed by the heavens, obtaining an incomparably tyrannical barrier that no one could break. This caused the divine realm of the Three Realms to become very famous. However, this kind of fame was not a good one. It could only be said that it was the darling of luck. Without strength, they could only be protected. This kind of reputation would only make the Three Realms god realms seem extremely weak. If he was incomparably powerful, why would he need the protection of a barrier? This was especially so since they had never heard of any powerhouses appearing in the Three Realms divine realm, making a name for themselves in the outside world. This further proved that the Three Realms divine realm was extremely weak. Otherwise, why wouldn't there be any experts going out to roam the world? However, there was one event that caused all the god realms to change their view of the Three Realms god realm, and that was the battle of the evil emperor. Not only did the evil emperor fail to gain any benefits, but he also lost a large number of heavenly gods. No one knew what was going on with such terrifying strength. No one knew how the divine realm of the Three Realms did it. But no matter what, They knew very well that the strength of the Three Realms God Realm was not as simple as the rumors made it out to be. The Three Realms God Realm was incomparably tyrannical, capable of crushing ordinary Grade 4 God Realm existences, and on the verge of reaching Grade 5 God Realm. This was just their imagination. Only the insiders knew that everything was fake. If it weren't for the power of those three cannons, it would have been impossible to achieve such an effect. Of course, it's very famous. The battle with the evil emperor shocked the entire divine realm. Heavenly God Shue said with relish, "When we first found out about it, we felt very happy. He managed to make evil emperor suffer a setback, so there was no way he would not feel good about it. We want to destroy them, but there's nothing we can do. It's still very satisfying to see a force make them suffer. Our Sword Edge Region Master wishes to meet the Region Master of the Three Realms God Realm. You should know the ruler of the Three Realms Celestial Realm, right? With your strength, no matter how you look at it, you can be ranked at the top of the Three Realms God Realm." They didn't think that Tianyun was a Region Master. In their opinion, a Region Master should be at a higher level, at least above the Heavenly God level. "I am the Region Master of the Three Realms God Realm." Tianyun smiled calmly. He didn't say that he wasn't a Region Master. There was nothing to hide about it. It just so happened that he could meet the Region Master of the Three Realms God Realm. "You are the Region Master of the Three Realms God Realm?" Heavenly God Shue and the others were stunned as they looked at Tianyun. "Are you surprised? Are you thinking that I am above the Heavenly God level?" Tianyun exposed their thoughts, making them feel embarrassed. His cultivation was indeed a little low, but his overall strength was astonishing. "Little, but Brother Tianyun." "No, Tianyun Region Master, you are very strong. Even I can't compare to you." Heavenly God Shue immediately changed the way he addressed Tianyun, not daring to call him Brother Tianyun. After all, Tianyun led the Three Realms God Realm to defeat the evil emperor. This kind of strength made them feel deep veneration. Only with strength could one win the respect of others. "That's fine. Anyway, what else do we need to do now?" Tianyun looked around and said, "For example, clean up the mess and report back." Yes. I almost forgot that there was such a thing. They finally realized that they had finally won the battle, so they had to report back immediately. As for the crack, it had already been repaired. If it weren't for the cooperation between the two sides, it would have been repaired soon. As for when the crack would appear again, no one knew. "Heavenly Cloud Territory Lord, it was all thanks to you that we were able to win this time." Chapter 1682. Tianyun carefully looked at the Jianfeng Domain Lord in the distance. The Jianfeng Domain Lord's whole body was like a sword. It was as if no matter which part of his body, he could create a terrifying sword aura. The Sword Edge Region Master's cultivation was very strong. He had reached the upper celestial god realm. No wonder he was blacklisted. Just this incomparably domineering strength was enough to make the evil spirit race suffer. It was unknown how many evil spirit races had been chopped into several pieces by him within his sword beams. "Then I will go and talk to the Region Master now." When Meng Tianshan and the others wanted to go down and talk to the Region Master, Tianyun reached out and stopped them. "No need, let's wait for Jianfeng Domain Lord to finish his cultivation. It would be rude to disturb Jianfeng Domain Lord's cultivation. I will wait here." Tianyun didn't rush to leave. He planned to stay here and watch Jianfeng Domain Lord cultivate. He didn't want to disturb the Region Master's cultivation. Although it was just a simple practice, it was also a kind of cultivation. He might be able to learn something from the practice. Tianyun's words made them respect him. They didn't expect him to be willing to wait. Some Region Masters didn't have much patience. They all wanted to come down and talk instead of waiting. "Thank you, Region Master Tianyun." They didn't want to disturb the Region Master either. Although it was okay to go down, it was best to go down after the practice. The Region Master was really one with the sword. He didn't know that there were people outside. He just kept practicing. Every move he made was so perfect. It was the effect of playing with the sword to the extreme. Tianyun enjoyed watching it. He had to admit that the Region Master's mastery of sword skills had reached the peak. It wasn't a powerful sword skill. It was just a very ordinary sword skill. But in his hands, it was perfect. No one knew why he practiced such a sword skill, but it looked so perfect. Why would the Region Master practice such an ordinary sword skill? Yi Tianyun asked. We don't know either. All this while, Domain Lord Sword Sharpness would train once in a while, God Mang explained from the side. Every once in a while? Yi Tianyun looked at the Sword Edge Domain Master. He guessed that this sword technique had some sort of meaning to him. That's right, we did ask, but the Sword Edge Region Master told us that it was for commemoration. Mang Tian God stared at the Sword Edge Domain Master who was still training his sword, and said respectfully, we don't dare to ask any more questions, we don't know what commemoration it is. There were some things that they did not dare to ask. This was a private matter concerning the Sword Edge Region Master, so there was no need to ask. So that's how it is. Yi Tianyun's eyes shone with a strange light as he watched him brandish his sword. He seemed to have read something in this sword technique, but it was just a little. The Sword Edge Region Master didn't spend too much time practicing this set of sword skills. He stopped after a short while. After stopping, the Sword Edge Region Master saw Yi Tianyun and the others standing outside and turned his head to look at them. It seemed like he only noticed them now, but the main reason was that they weren't within his attack range, so the Sword Edge Region Master didn't notice them. Once they entered his sensing range, he would immediately know of their existence. Oh, looks like we have an esteemed guest. The Sword Edge Region Master walked over with a smile. Looks like you are the Region Master of the Three Realms God Realm. I didn't expect you to be so young. You look so young, your aura is hidden, but I can vaguely feel a special power rising to the sky. This might be your aura. It wasn't surprising that the Sword Edge Region Master knew his identity. When Yi Tianyun arrived, he had already sent a message to inform the Region Master of the situation. Even if Yi Tianyun didn't come, the news would have been sent back immediately. The first to know was the Sword Edge Region Master, and he was in a good mood. My aura. Yi Tianyun looked behind him, but he couldn't see anything. Either the Sword Edge Region Master was playing tricks on him, or he really did see something. However, he still believed that it was the latter. The Sword Edge Region Master wouldn't be fooling people. Some experts could indeed see different things. Even the appraisal eye might not be able to see everything. For example, he couldn't see his opponent's soul. There were also many things that the appraisal eye couldn't see. Maybe leveling it up would have some effect. That's right, it's your aura. Everyone's aura is different. For example, God Mang's aura is God Mang. Your aura is a bit blurry, I can't see it clearly. To be honest, you're the second one I can't see through. The Region Master shook his head. The second one? Then who's the first one? Yi Tianyun asked curiously. It's the Evil Emperor. The Region Master's sword-like eyes revealed traces of coldness. So it's the Evil Emperor. Yi Tianyun was about to say that he couldn't see through it, but it was the heaven-defying Evil Emperor. The Region Master could only see through his natural elemental ability. Tianyun had mixed so many bloodlines, how could he see through it? The Evil Emperor had devoured many bloodlines, plus he had a heaven-defying ability, so it was normal that he couldn't see through it. Let's not talk about this. Welcome to my place, Region Master. I've been wanting to see you for a long time, but I haven't had the time since I've been too busy. Come over here, it's not good to keep standing here. Let's have a cup of tea. The Region Master waved his hand and signaled him to go to his residence. The other heavenly gods didn't follow him, they all chose to leave. Yi Tianyun followed them, and when he arrived at the Sword Edge Region Master's residence, he was shocked. It wasn't because the residence was luxurious, but because the walls were full of long swords, and each sword was of a different grade, from very low to very low. However, each sword was full of blood, and no one knew how much blood it had been stained with. These swords, are they all the Sword Edge Region Masters? Yi Tianyun looked at the swords, and the grades were from low to high, with the highest being Heavenly Venerable Spirit Treasure. Yes, they are all the weapons I've been using since I first started cultivating. However, these old guys can't go to the battlefield, so they can only retreat here. The region master looked at the long swords, and his eyes showed a gentle look. It was as if these swords were not his weapons, but his family. Immediately, the region master took out a wine cup, poured wine for Yi Tianyun, and also poured a cup for himself. He didn't put on any airs. His cultivation was much higher than Yi Tianyun, but he didn't put on any airs. Sword Edge Region Master, this time I came here because I have a request. After taking a sip of the wine, Yi Tianyun said slowly. Chapter 1683. It was not surprising that the Sword Edge Region Master saw through Yi Tianyun's intentions. It was not surprising that the Sword Edge Region Master could guess his intentions. After all, how could he be weak to sit in this position? That's right. I came here for an alliance. I didn't think about it before, but now that we have the same goal, it would be great if we could form an alliance. Yi Tianyun laughed. Since the other was so straightforward, there was no need for him to hide anything. If he could, then he could. If he couldn't, then he couldn't. There was no need to hide. Hiding wouldn't get him any benefits. Instead, it would make him feel disgusted. Actually, that's what I was thinking. When I found out that you killed a bunch of the evil Emperor's elites and made him suffer, I decided to form an alliance with the Three Realms Celestial Realm. No matter what the Three Realms Celestial Realm is like, we must form an alliance. The Sword Edge Region Master's tone was firm. Tianyun squinted at him and asked in confusion, "Why?" "I think the Sword Edge Region Master is not interested in my faction. I have a lot of power." "That's right. Other rank 5 celestial realms can do that. What I admire is your ability to make the evil Emperor suffer." The Sword Edge Region Master's eyes turned cold. "I swore that if anyone could make the evil Emperor suffer, I would become friends with him. But since we're here to form an alliance, there's no doubt about it. Looks like the Sword Edge Region Master and the evil Emperor have a grudge." Yi Tianyun had already guessed it. It's a very deep grudge. The Sword Edge Region Master drank all the wine in his hand, turned around and looked at the long sword hanging on the wall, and said, "He killed my woman. Do you think it's a deep grudge?" Yi Tianyun froze. Although he had guessed it, he was still shocked. "Very deep. If the woman I love was killed, I would also go crazy and kill the evil spirit race whenever I see them. No wonder you're on the blacklist of the evil spirit race." Yi Tianyun finally understood what was going on. The main reason why the Sword Edge Region Master could be this crazy was because his beloved woman had been killed. How could he not be crazy? If it were him, he would also go crazy, and he would be even more ruthless than the Sword Edge Region Lord. Blacklist? I don't know about that. The Sword Edge Region Master smiled, but there was a hint of coldness in his smile, as if he didn't think it was enough. It seems like the sword art that the Sword Edge Region Master was practicing just now is related to your Taoist partner, right? Yi Tianyun recalled that set of ordinary sword art. It was a very ordinary thing, yet the Sword Edge Region Master went to cultivate it. Combined with what the Sword Edge Region Master had said before, he immediately guessed it. As expected of the Heavenly Cloud Territory Master. Drink up. The Sword Edge Territory Master didn't say anything else. After filling their cups with wine, he drank a few more cups. Yi Tianyun didn't say anything. They just poured wine together, clinked glasses, and downed the wine. He didn't stop until he had lost count of how many cups he had drunk. I wonder why the Heavenly Cloud Territory Master is here for something else, right? The Sword Edge Region Master drank a lot of wine, but he didn't look drunk at all. The same was true for Yi Tianyun. He was completely fine. It was impossible for such a small amount of wine to make him drunk. My original idea was very simple. I just wanted to check out this crystal barrier. I haven't been here before, so I wanted to check it out and eliminate some evil spirit race. I happened to see Heavenly God Shui and the others patrolling, so I followed them. You know the result. That's it. Yi Tianyun answered honestly. There was nothing to hide. I see. I thought you were here to investigate that matter. The Sword Edge Region Master suddenly realized. Investigate that matter? What is it? Yi Tianyun immediately sensed that something was not simple. It was definitely not something that could attract the Sword Edge Region Master's attention. About breaking the barrier. Their strength is increasing, and they seem to have found a way to open the barrier. It's giving us a headache. The Sword Edge Region Master shook his head. The increasing number of evil spirit race made them feel distressed. This was not something they wanted to see. Yi Tianyun was stunned. He immediately knew what was going on. Huan Mingyue could control the opening of the barrier, which was why such a strange thing happened. Now that Huan Mingyue was taken away, there was no way to open it. I know a little about this. Yi Tianyun raised his wine cup and swirled it slightly. The Sword Edge Region Master immediately looked at him. The Heaven Creator race. They controlled the Heaven Creator race to open the barrier, and they did it by force. The Heaven Creator race. As expected, they controlled the Heaven Creator race. But the Heaven Creator race shouldn't have been able to control them. The Sword Edge Region Master frowned. He found it unbelievable. Yi Tianyun swirled his wine cup and said, "The Heaven Creator race can't be controlled, but what if the Heaven Creator race gave birth to their child?" The Sword Edge Region Master's pupils constricted. He shook his head. Impossible. How can the evil spirit race's bloodline combine with the Heaven Creator race? That's the truth. That's what I shared. The reason why the evil emperor is so crazy about my forces is because I captured their child. Yi Tianyun revealed such a shocking matter. Great. I was wondering why the evil emperor was so crazy. So you captured their child. The Sword Edge Region Master's eyes were filled with joy. He wanted nothing more than to kill the evil emperor. To be able to defeat the evil emperor, it must be extremely satisfying. Then they must have mastered some strange techniques. This is not a good thing. It's indeed not a good thing. It could even be said to be very serious. Now that I've captured one, I don't know if it will appear again in the future. After all, if one appears, there might be 2 or even 3. Yi Tianyun said solemnly. That's why we can't delay any longer. It's best to rescue the Heaven Creator race immediately and cut off their method. That's a good idea. But we don't know where the Heaven Creator race is being held. The Sword Edge Region Master shook his head. They had an idea, but they didn't know where and what use it would be. But I know. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. Slap. The Sword Edge Region Master slammed the table. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Good. Tianyun Region Master, you are indeed the strangest Region Master in recent years. You even know about this. In that case, I shall follow you and rescue the Heaven-creating clan. The Sword Edge Region Master really went as he said. How could he not go for such an important matter? Just the 2 of us? The evil emperor is not easy to deal with. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Chapter 1684. There are other region lords going with them? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. If there were other powerful beings going with them, then the success rate would be greatly increased. Yes, there is also the Fecta Region Lord. The Sword Edge Region Lord said with a smile. The Fecta Region Lord? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. Will he go with them? He didn't expect this. He didn't expect the Sword Edge Region Lord to be on good terms with the Fecta Region Lord. However, thinking about it carefully, the Fecta Region Lord's daughter was captured and was reported dead. This was almost the same as the Sword Edge Region Lord losing his most beloved woman. It wasn't impossible for the 2 of them to sympathize with each other. Of course, the Fecta Region Lord will definitely take action to deal with the evil spirit race, especially to save the Heaven Creators. After all, the Heaven Creators are technically his mother's family. Don't you think that's important? The Sword Edge Region Lord smiled. Is that so? Yi Tianyun was taken aback. This meant that the Fecta Region Lord's mother was from the Heaven Creators. The Fecta Region Lord had the bloodline of the Heaven Creators. Following this logic, it made sense why he could give birth to a goddess with 2 terrifying abilities. The bloodline of the Heaven Creators was extremely strange. They had almost all kinds of special abilities, and some of them were quite unique. Therefore, It wasn't surprising that the heavenly luck goddess and the heavenly misfortune goddess appeared. Apart from the Fekta region lord, I can also invite the region lord Yuelong. The Sword Edge region lord said another name. What? The region lord Yuelong? Yi Tianyun was taken aback. How could he even invite the region lord Yuelong? Region lord Yuelong is my sister-in-law. Do you think she will go? The Sword Edge region lord smiled. She would be more than happy to do such a thing. She would be happy to destroy the evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun drew a sharp intake of breath. Wouldn't befriending the Sword Edge region lord be the same as befriending two major forces? He had been busy for so many days. He might as well befriend the region lord so that he could befriend the other two. Apart from that, I can also summon Cloudpiercer region master. The Cloudpiercer region lord is right next door. He has been guarding the crystal barrier with us for a long time and has been harassed by the evil spirit race countless times. If we ask him to go with us, he will definitely be very willing. The Sword Edge region lord reported another person. Yi Tianyun was completely dumbfounded. Damn it, weren't the 4 blacklists all here? Including himself, the 5 blacklisted individuals were all present. The 5 people who gave the evil spirit race the most headaches were all preparing to gather and attack the evil spirit race together. This is simply the 5 blacklists, all of them moving out. Yi Tianyun felt that it was very funny. He wondered how the evil spirit race and the others would feel when they attacked together. 5 blacklists? I've never heard of that before. Does that mean we're all blacklisted? Sword Edge region master laughed. Yes, Fekta domain lord, Yuelong domain lord, Cloudpiercer domain lord, you and me are all here. When the time comes, we will definitely stun them, said Yi Tianyun with a smile. Ha, we're all on the blacklist? The Sword Edge region master rubbed his chin and thought carefully before saying, thinking about it, it's true. All of us are so crazy. Seeing the evil spirit race's fierce slaughter, especially the small branches of the evil spirit race, they must hate us to the bone. Especially the evil spirit race that came through the barrier, we've already killed countless waves of them. After the Sword Edge region master heard this, he was extremely happy, but he felt that it was not enough. Then inform them to come over now? Yi Tianyun said. I'll contact them now and see if they're willing to go. Although they have this thought, whether or not they have the time is another matter. They were not the subordinates of the Sword Edge region master, so it was naturally impossible for the Sword Edge region master to casually call them over. Thus, whether or not they would come over was another matter. That's for sure, but let's ask first. Tianyun said. The Sword Edge region master nodded and quickly went to contact them. Since they knew the location, they had to act quickly. If they changed the location, it would be an extremely troublesome matter. Very quickly, the Sword Edge region master returned and said excitedly, all of them said there's no problem and are preparing to rush over here. Good. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. If they all came over, it would undoubtedly increase the success rate. If it was just him alone, it would definitely be difficult. Now that they were moving together, and they were all region masters, the meaning was different. As long as the evil emperor was not guarding there, attacking should not be a problem. Not long after, the first to arrive was the Cloud-Piercing region master. The Cloud-Piercing region master looked like a very scholarly middle-aged man. He did not look like someone who liked to be stained with blood, but more like a teacher. However, he was one of the blacklisted people. When he didn't explode, he was very scholarly. Once he exploded, he was like a demon. Cloud-Piercing region master, you're here. This is the Sky Cloud region master. The Sword Edge region master introduced him to the Cloud-Piercing region master. Upper Heavenly Venerable Cultivation Base? The Cloud-Piercing region master frowned. This was not a good thing for him. If his cultivation base was too low, he would easily be a burden. Before coming, he had already informed them of the general reason, so they all knew that it was a plan to save the Sky Creator clan. Now that they saw that Yi Tianyun's cultivation base was so low, he was afraid that he would easily be a burden. The Sky Cloud region master's cultivation base is low, but his overall strength is not weak. The Sword Edge region master said. The cloud-piercing region master nodded and did not say anything. Obviously, he did not believe it. Because of the Sword Edge region master's recommendation, he did not want to say anything more. Anyway, when the time came, he did not want to be a burden. After a while, the other two region masters arrived one after another. When they saw Yi Tianyun, their eyes lit up. Sky Cloud Region Master, you are here too? Yes, I told you about this plan. I did not expect the Sword Edge Region Master to still be in contact with you. Then, moving with you is undoubtedly the best choice. Sword Edge Region Master, I did not expect you to be in contact with the Sky Cloud Region Master. I also just met the Sky Cloud Region Master. The Cloud-piercing Region Master was very surprised. Did the Region Master Yuelong have such a high opinion of Yi Tianyun? Soon, the disheveled old man, the Fecta Region Master, came over. When he saw Yi Tianyun, his eyes lit up, and he hugged Yi Tianyun. Sky Cloud Region Master, thank you so much. If it were not for you, my daughter would not have been able to come back. The Fecta Region Master completely lost his composure. Previously, Yi Tianyun did not follow them back to the Fecta region, so he did not know the situation. Chapter 1685. The Cloud-piercing Domain Lord had never seen the Fecta Domain Lord being so friendly toward someone. Even the Sword Peak Domain Lord was dumbfounded. The Fecta Domain Lord was also dumbfounded. He didn't expect the Fecta Domain Lord to be so friendly toward someone. It seemed like the heavenly god Misfortune was very important to him. Even though he was usually very calm, he was still very friendly toward her. Fecta Domain Lord, didn't you say your daughters? The Sword Peak Domain Lord was dumbfounded. That's right. I was in despair. I didn't think my daughters would survive and be trapped in the territory of the evil spirit race. Luckily, the Heavenly Cloud Domain Lord managed to sneak in. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get my daughters out. The Fecta Domain Lord put an arm around Yi Tianyun's shoulder and said with a smile, "Kid, my two daughters think so highly of you. Are you interested in becoming my son-in-law?" Yi Tianyun was so scared that he almost swallowed his tongue. He immediately started to promote the two goddesses to Yi Tianyun. Even the Cloud-piercing Domain Lord and the others were shocked. His two daughters had always been his treasures. He didn't want to marry them off. Now, he even took the initiative to mention this to Yi Tianyun. How could the Cloud-piercing Domain Lord not be shocked? He was most shocked that Yi Tianyun was able to sneak into the territory of the evil spirit race and rescue the Fecta Domain Lord's daughters. What kind of ability was that? Even the Cloud-piercing Domain Lord couldn't sneak in. The difficulty was too high. The security was very tight. There was no way to sneak in no matter where one went. The only way to sneak in was to force his way in. Not only did Yi Tianyun sneak in, but he also rescued the two of them. This was very shocking to him. Fecta Domain Lord, please don't do that. Yi Tianyun immediately refused. What? You don't like my two daughters? The Fecta Domain Lord frowned. He was a little displeased. That's not it. Your two daughters are very beautiful and very powerful. However, I don't think I'm good enough for them. Yi Tianyun smiled and belittled himself. How is that possible? You're so strong and have so many abilities. I dare say that no young man in the entire divine territory is stronger than you. The Fecta Domain ruler gave him a very high evaluation. It was not just a high evaluation, it was a complete explosion. His abilities were strong, his puppeteering abilities were ferocious, and he was also the guardian of the evil spirit's pearl. If all of them were added up, who wouldn't be a match for him? Only who was not worthy of him. Cloudpiercer Domain Lord smacked his lips. He wanted to say something, but he didn't dare to. If he said that, wouldn't he be disrespecting the Fecta Domain Lord? Cough cough, let's not talk about this. Let's discuss how to save the Sky Creators. This is more important now. Let's put everything else aside for now. Yi Tianyun quickly changed the topic. He did not want to continue talking about this. That's right. Let's talk next time. We have to rescue the Sky Creators this time. The Fecta Protectorate Lord felt that it was better to resolve this matter first. In any case, There would be plenty of time for marriage in the future. For now, the heaven-creating races matters were more important. Then, they began to discuss with each other about how to proceed. However, after asking a lot of questions, the Fekta Protectorate Lord and the others turned their attention to Lee Tianyun. Tianyun Protectorate Lord, what's your plan? Compared to that, we are more interested in your plan. They were very interested in Lee Tianyun's plan. Cloudpiercer Domain Lord originally wanted to say something, but he was stopped. He turned his attention to Lee Tianyun. He also wanted to hear what Lee Tianyun had to say. Tianyun was highly regarded, so he wanted to see how strong he was. I don't have any plan. The security there is tight. Apart from the evil emperor, anyone who goes near it will die. Therefore, we will just kill our way in. There is no good plan. It is basically meaningless to sneak in, Lee Tianyun said. The plan was simple and crude. According to the information provided by Huan Mingyue, it was basically like that. There was no other way to get in. The security was tight, so they had to break in by force. I don't think so. The Fekta Protectorate Lord has all kinds of amazing skills. Maybe we can ask the Fekta Protectorate Lord for help? Cloudpiercer Domain Lord retorted. He didn't want to break in by force. If they did, they would be surrounded, especially since there were only 5 of them, which was not a lot. They couldn't attack in large numbers. That would undoubtedly be the start of the God-Emperor War, and it would start in advance. They weren't ready yet, so they had to destroy the evil spirit race's plan first. If they didn't prepare anything, they would definitely lose if they fought the battle directly. Especially since the evil spirit race's situation was not clear, no one dared to attack them casually, and there was no meaningful alliance. Therefore, they couldn't attack them alone, could they? The most important thing was to save the Sky Creator race first, and then discuss the future. Cutting off the evil spirit race's support would make everything much easier. Okay, then, let's break in by force. Fekta Protectorate Lord immediately agreed with Lee Tianyun. Since the Tianyun Protectorate Lord has said so, I also support you, Yuelong Domain Lord, who was next to him, echoed. Since you have said so, what else can I say? Let's kill them together with the Tianyun Protectorate Lord. Jianfeng Domain Lord laughed. What? Cloudpiercer Domain Lord was stunned. He had said so much, but Lee Tianyun was still the leader? Why didn't he listen to his opinion? He waved his hand in the air and said, Wait, didn't you plan to sneak in? Fekta Protectorate Lord, I think you can do it, right? I can do it, but it depends on the situation. Especially since the Tianyun Protectorate Lord said that it's impossible, I definitely can't do it. Fekta Protectorate Lord spread out his hand and looked like he would listen to Lee Tianyun's advice. This Cloudpiercer Domain Lord was dumbfounded. This doesn't make sense, does it? Cloudpiercer Domain Lord, it's decided, no need to say more. Jianfeng Domain Lord put his hand on Cloudpiercer Domain Lord's shoulder and said in a low voice, I know you don't understand, but you will know when the time comes. Okay. Cloudpiercer Domain Lord was very helpless, and he looked at Lee Tianyun with a puzzled look. Is this kid really so magical? In the end, he didn't want to say more, and he just hoped that it was true. Of course, Lee Tianyun wouldn't say anything. Based on the memory given by Huan Mingyue, there was no way to sneak into that area. The only way was to force their way in. Unless the memory given by Huan Mingyue was fake, they could only force their way in. There was no other way. Therefore, they had to race against time, and the sooner they could save the people, the better. If they were too slow, they might be intercepted. Chapter 1686. By the time Lee Tianyun and the rest had made their plans and set off, the evil spirit race's side was in chaos. All of them were wiped out. Not a single one was left. What are they doing? The evil emperor slammed the chair angrily. The chair did not shatter, but a large part of the ground was shattered. The powerhouses below trembled. The evil emperor's anger was not that easy to bear. Lord Evil Emperor, the enemy is too strong and knows how to break the joint formation, so, I remember that there is no such powerhouse in the Jianfeng divine realm. Where did he come from? According to the investigation, it was the Tianyun domain lord who is on the blacklist. What? The evil emperor stood up and angrily kicked the chair. The chair was sent flying and smashed into the wall, turning into powder. It's that brat. It's him again. It's always him. This time, the purple evil spirit that could affect the Heaven Creator clan was sent over with great difficulty, but it was killed again. Damn it, I want to kill that brat right now. The evil emperor was infuriated once again. He couldn't figure out which expert it was, but who knew it was Yi Tianyun? How could he have known it was Yi Tianyun? First, Huan Mingyue was captured, then the purple evil spirit was killed. He wanted to smash the barrier and rush in to destroy the three realms' divine realm. However, he could not destroy it at all. If he could destroy the barrier of the three realms' divine realm, he would definitely be able to destroy the crystal barrier. The experts below looked at each other in dismay. They were equally shocked when they heard the news. Yi Tianyun's actions could probably reach the top of the blacklist. Capturing the Empress and killing the purple evil spirit were both major events. Where is he now? The evil emperor asked sternly. He seems to have entered the Jianfeng divine realm as a guest, one of the elders reported. He entered the Jianfeng divine realm. The evil emperor's eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. Keep a close eye on the Jianfeng divine realm. Report to me as soon as that brat comes out. If it wasn't for the fact that I have too many things to do now, I really want to get rid of the Jianfeng divine realm as well. The evil emperor could not do it for the time being, and the other forces could not destroy the evil spirit race either. However, the 5th grade and 4th grade divine realms were more like a plate of loose sand. They had no intention of forming an alliance. In this chaotic era, they did not dare to form alliances casually as they could easily be stabbed in the back. This gave the evil spirit race a chance. After making the arrangements, the evil emperor went to busy himself with other matters. However, he was in a terrible mood. After all, it was already extremely terrible before. The heavenly deities arranged in the three realms' divine realm had all died. How could they be in a good mood? Who knew that before he could calm down, he would hear such explosive news? His heart almost couldn't take it. Yi Tianyun was the first person who had ever played the evil emperor like this. The Yi Tianyun, Yi Emperor Tianyun, Yi Tianyun off. He divine emperor god, and Yi Tianyun divine was in. Under the strange gaze of the Fecta domain ruler, he completely concealed his aura and rapidly flew away. The Fecta domain lord's spirit ship was very special. It could hide itself. Even spiritual senses could not detect it. It was definitely a supreme-grade spirit ship. From the looks of it, it was indeed a heavenly god's spiritual treasure. It could be considered a relatively expensive item. This is the general direction. Just fly there. Yi Tianyun took out the star compass and pointed at the corresponding location. The Fecta domain lord and the others came over to take a look. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with this location? Yi Tianyun was puzzled. He had never been there before, so he did not know what the situation was. This is where the sky creators used to live. It was destroyed a long time ago, and almost all that's left are ruins. I didn't expect it to be here. Turning the place where the sky creators used to live into a place to imprison them is really ironic. The Fecta domain lord shook his head. They really didn't expect to be hiding here. So that's how it is. I didn't know about this. Yi Tianyun put away the star compass. In that case, let me see how they hide. The Fecta domain lord's eyes lit up. There was even more killing intent in the depths of his eyes. His mother's home had been destroyed. Now, they were being imprisoned in their home. How ironic. This made his hands itch. He wanted nothing more than to destroy them immediately. The transparent spirit ship was very fast under the Fecta domain lord's control. However, it still took a long time to reach the Heaven Creator divine territory. As soon as they entered, they saw piles of broken pieces. These were all fragments of various planets. There were also fragments of ruins. Almost none of them were complete. They were all broken pieces. This was enough to show how tragic the situation was. The sky creators had been completely destroyed. The tragic situation was enough to make one fantasize. This situation is a little too tragic. Yi Tianyun looked around. There was not a single area that was unharmed. He didn't know how intense the battle had been. The Sky Creators have amazing attainments in all kinds of abilities. Even a planet or a tree can be turned into a weapon. But under such circumstances, they were still breached. Correspondingly, the evil spirit race paid a heavy price. It was a very heavy price. They didn't even have many casualties. The evil spirit race seemed to have countless lives. They weren't afraid of death at all. No matter how difficult it was to attack, they pushed their way through. In the end, the Sky Creators race still lost because of exhaustion. The Fecta Domain Lord shook his head. He didn't participate in this battle. By the time he understood what had happened, it was already too late. A battle between God Emperors was just that cruel. After understanding the situation, he realized that it was all the evil spirit race's doing. In the outer divine territories, he thought that it was some selfish divine territory. Who knew that it was the evil spirit race, a race that didn't belong to this world? Soon after, they entered. After passing through countless fragments, they finally arrived at the marked area, the rock tornado. There was an area in front of them that was surrounded by all kinds of rocks. There was almost no way for wind to pass through. There was only a small entrance that could be used to enter. However, there were powerful cultivators guarding the entrance. There were also all kinds of large arrays. It was almost airtight. I finally know why other methods didn't work. The cloud-piercing domain lord smiled bitterly. At that time, he thought that it was a normal place to be imprisoned. Now, it seemed like he was wrong. Even if the Fecta Domain Lord was very powerful, it would be very difficult for him to pass through this terrifying rock tornado. Once they entered, even if their cultivation levels weren't weak, they would be forced back and all of them would be injured. Chapter 1687. Based on the current situation, I can't even break in easily. Just as the Heavenly Cloud Domain Lord said, we can only force our way in. The Fecta Domain Lord sized up the stone tornado and said in a deep voice, and this is the Heaven Creating Clan's method. It's really ironic that the Heaven Creating Clan is using their own ability to seal themselves. Such a shocking formation was the Heaven Creating Clan's ability. His own ability was used on himself. It was indeed very ironic. It looks like it's not simple inside. Even if we manage to break in, it won't be easy for us to save them. The Sword Edge Domain Lord sized up the formation. Since the outside was so shocking, it was definitely not simple inside. Yes, the Heaven Creating Clan's ability is naturally not limited to this. Unless the evil emperor is not cautious, the traps inside are definitely extremely difficult. They might not be able to kill us, but they can at least trap us inside temporarily. The Fecta Domain Lord's expression was very solemn. If we are trapped and the evil emperor and the others attack, we will be in danger. Especially in their territory, we won't be easy to deal with. Fecta Domain Lord, even you can't break it? The Sword Edge Domain Lord was very surprised. The Fecta Domain Lord was very familiar with the Heaven Creating Clan's ability, and he even had half of the Heaven Creating Clan's bloodline. Logically speaking, it should be very easy. I can break it, but it won't be easy in a short period of time. I'm afraid that if we are trapped, it won't be that fast. The Fecta Domain Lord shook his head. He was not invincible, and naturally, he couldn't break everything easily. Then should we give it a try? The cloud-piercing Domain Lord smacked his lips. Wouldn't it be a wasted trip if they didn't try? We definitely have to try, but we need to prepare a foolproof plan. If only we had the previous Domain Lord's Fecta Divine Fan. The Fecta Domain Lord sighed. Fecta Divine Fan? Fecta Domain Lord, didn't I get the Fecta Divine Fan? Yi Tianyun was puzzled. Indeed, the Fecta Divine Fan was fished out, but it's so badly damaged that its effects are greatly reduced. It's almost unusable. If we can use it, we can deduce the direction of the formation and some future situations, the Fecta Domain Lord explained. Fecta Domain Lord, I've repaired it a little. Can I use it now? Yi Tianyun took out the Fecta Divine Fan. The Fecta Domain Lord's eyes widened when he saw it. He snatched it from Yi Tianyun and examined it carefully. After a while, he looked at Yi Tianyun in astonishment and asked, How did you do it? This celestial pearl divine fan was very damaged before, but now it has recovered more than half of its power. I spent a little effort to repair it. It's a special technique. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, I wonder if this is enough. Enough, it's enough. Heavenly Cloud Territorial Lord, you're really special. Your technique in this aspect is really unique. I'm afraid even the Heaven Creator clan doesn't have this kind of ability. The Fecta Domain Lord laughed heartily. His mood was naturally different now that he had this almost repaired divine fan. The cloud-piercing Domain Lord raised his eyebrows when he heard such a high evaluation. He couldn't help but take another look at Yi Tianyun. He really didn't expect such a situation. He had previously thought that Yi Tianyun was very ordinary. Now, it seemed that he was very extraordinary. The Fecta Domain Lord closed the fan and said with a sharp look in his eyes, All right, let's go now. They were invigorated. They were finally going to rescue the people. They had thought that they would return empty-handed. They didn't expect that Yi Tianyun would be able to take out the repaired Fecta Divine Fan. This gave them a little more hope. Under the Fecta Domain Lord's lead, they rapidly approached the rubble tornado. The Fecta Divine Fan seemed to come to life in the Fecta Domain Lord's hand. It constantly spun and sent rays of light into his head. It was obvious that he was frantically deducing what would happen next. After a while, he quickly closed the fan and said, There's a guard outside and 3 guards inside. The guard inside will immediately rush out when we launch a sneak attack. Everything has to be done quickly. I believe that all of you will be fine. They all nodded, indicating that there would be no problem. The Fecta Divine Fan had already deduced what would happen next. This meant that when they launched a sneak attack, they would immediately attract the attention of the guards inside. From this, it could be determined that there were 4 guards inside, not just 1. The Fecta Domain Lord was the first to attack. He rushed over without hesitation. He didn't use any other moves. He just flew over and waved the Fecta Divine Fan in his hand, slashing at the guard. The closed fan turned into a sharp blade and slashed down. The guard didn't even have time to react before he was cut into 2 by the Fecta Divine Fan. Although the Fecta Domain Lord's cultivation wasn't high, only at the early stage upper heavenly god level, the power he unleashed was extremely terrifying. Even an intermediate heavenly god guard was instantly killed. Yi Tianyun could tell that the Fecta Domain Lord wasn't just using his own power. He also had a special ability. That was the prediction ability of the Fecta Divine Fan. It could predict the opponent's movements in advance. Before this, Yi Tianyun had strengthened him with healing powers. He had no other reason than to earn more experience. The Fecta Domain Lord glanced at him curiously. He didn't know why Yi Tianyun was healing him. He wasn't injured at all. Why would he heal him? However, the Fecta Domain Lord didn't think too much about it. He led them in and killed their way in. Sure enough, as soon as he killed the guard, 3 more guards rushed out from inside. It's an intruder. Hurry up and report it. The guard quickly took out his communication jade pendant and wanted to pass on the information. However, the sword light was much faster than the speed at which the guard crushed the jade pendant. Clang. A cold light flashed and the guard's arm was gone. Then, the sword slashed down and the guard was cut into 10 pieces. Another guard was engulfed by a beam of moonlight. He quickly melted and turned into a pile of ash. As for the last guard, a cold light flashed through the clouds and penetrated the guard's head. They were all killed in one move without any hesitation. As for Yi Tianyun, he only strengthened them with healing powers so that he could gain experience. He didn't have a chance to attack at all. Although he could also kill them in one move, he could gain experience. There was no need to go through so much trouble. The other domain lords were confused. Why did he keep strengthening his healing powers? Did he think that they would fail in their sneak attack and get injured? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.